I'm just starting the live, Jeff, and then hopefully it'll, when I bring you back in, we can try and, fingers crossed, it'll work itself out. Good evening, Richard. How's it going? I see a few of you coming in now, people. You can hear me, Jeff, but I can't hear you until I bring you in the screen. I hope George comes on. Yes, Andy. Hi, Claudio. How's it going? Right, we've just had a little few technical difficulties. Hopefully we can sort it out. Jeff's been trying the Wi-Fi and taking it off and stuff like that, so we'll see. Hopefully it'll work itself out. Hi, everyone. I can see you all coming in now. Good evening, all. So good evening, all. Lee Ashby here from Motocross and Speedway Memories. Got an amazing interview for you this evening. We're just trying to sort out. Hopefully we'll get a decent connection come through. So I'll just get my thank yous out of the way. Big thanks for the support to Simon Pardo of White Eagle Finance. They give quality financial advice for pensions, mortgages, investments and protection. Check the website out at www.whiteeaglefinance.co.uk. Big thanks to the legend Stefan Everts with his S72 Gin and Vodka brand. Check out his amazing products out at www.s72gin.com. Big thanks to Lee Owen of Owen Developments. They specialise in supplying turbochargers to a global customer base covering motorsport, performance aftermarket and OEM sectors. Check out his shop side at www.owenturbos.com and also www.owendevelopments.co.uk. And also big thanks to AMA legend Jeff Stanton. Check out his new adventure on www.jeffstantonadventures.com. Right then, hopefully we'll get this we can get this sorted out. We've just been trying to sort off air with Jeff. He's been moving around the house and everything for us, trying to get a good connection. So fingers crossed we can get it. Evening, George. How's it going? It's from my man, Andy Hobbs. Right then, get the introductions underway and then fingers crossed this will, hopefully the connection will be all good. I can see the man moving around and it seems to be not juddering, so fingers crossed it should be good. Right, here we go then, people. I will get the introduction. I maybe even need two of these, but I'm going to try one first. Right then. Right then, people, I've got 5 times AMA Outdoor Motocross Champion, 1/125, 2/250 and 2/500s. 2 times 250 Supercross Champion, 7 times Motocross the Nations winner with Team USA. He was inducted into the Motorcycle Hall of Fame in 1999. He was then inducted into the Motorsport Hall of Fame in 2006. 2 times AMA Supermoto Champion, 2 times X Games Supermoto Champion. I told you I'd need more time. He also got into the Indy racing and was runner-up at the Indianapolis 500 and the winner at the Boomtown 500 at the Texas Motor Speedway. He also did Lucas Off-Road Racing and he was the 2009 Rookie of the Year and the Dirt Sports Rookie of the Year. Second in the series as well in the championship, only missing out by the win by 1 point. It's no other than AMA legend himself, Mr. Jeff Ward, if we can bring him in. Jeff.
How's it going?
Can you hear me? Really appreciate you doing this, mate. How's it going? Can you hear me all right?
And now it's breaking.
It's breaking up a bit.
Picture.
Damn.
I hear you, and then it just.
What's it like now? I can hear you.
You get like 2 sentences in. It gets like 2 sentences in or a couple words, makes all those fires. But I heard you when you were doing your intro there, and then as soon as you put me up on live, it seemed to go a little wacko. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit. Yeah, because when I was watching you then, it looked like it was being all good down there at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, I was moving around trying to get a little better. Thought I'd go back, but now it seems to be a little better here.
Okay, fingers crossed. So I'll try my question then, and hopefully you'll hear it okay.
Yeah.
How did you get into motocross, Jeff? And what is your earliest memory of the sport? And what bike did you first have?
My earliest memory, my dad has like a 750 Triumph or something, and probably 3 or 4. He put me on the gas tank and ride around and up at Saddleback Park, and out in the desert in California. Because I was Portland and we moved here, so my dad was a trials rider, so he would do trials on the 750 Triumph, and I'd go with him. My first bike, I think it was a Mini Trail 50 Honda, and I was probably 4.5. I got some pictures with like a number 4 on my bike, which I'm assuming is my age.
Nice. What riders did you look up to and idolize when you were young then, Jeff? And did you get to race against any of your heroes?
When I was younger?
Yeah, who was your heroes? Yeah.
Well, Marty Smith was, a factory Honda guy. But when I was time in the United States, racing over here, and it wasn't as big as Europe until everybody started coming over, and not until probably, I was probably 9 or 10 when I really started Marty Smith and guys like that that were kind of factory Honda, because I was Honda at the time when the XR75 came out, and so he became my idol as I was a kid.
I've got Rob Dennis here. It's just come up on Facebook. He's put, can you ask Wardy, what was it like racing with RJ and Bailey, and who did he think was harder to beat on race night? Oh, we've lost Jeff. Sorry about that, people. Luckily, I tried to test it with Jeff earlier, about 15-20 minutes ago, and he was having a few issues with his connection on the internet. So fingers crossed. He did move around the house, turned his Wi-Fi on and off, and went to 4G and 5G and stuff like that. Because I know when I did a California one with Kurt Nichol, he had to not use his Wi-Fi and go on to 5G, I believe. So fingers crossed, Jeff can sort it out. But that's sometimes the problem when you do the overseas one. Sometimes their Wi-Fi or some internet problem. But fingers crossed he can sort it out. I'm just having a look down your comments while we're here. But we'll get that one back up, Rob. We have a piper done. Nice one, Mike. Yo, Lawrence, how's it going? See Lawrence Hare's there. Gareth Edwards. Could you ask him his riding style? I will do that, Gareth. Someone put he doesn't sound Scottish. Not sure who wrote that. You've not registered before you come in, I gather. Don't know who said that, but that. That's nice, Chris. The legend that is Wardy. My first bike was a Cowie because I wanted a green bike like Jeff Ward. Yes, 100%. I got some really cool photos of him as well. So fingers crossed. Flying freckle. In for the flying freckle. Yes, that's a good one, Nikki. About the face mask. Got loads of pictures of that. Evening, Paul. How's it going? I'm just seeing you all coming in. Hey, George Holland. Mark Taylor, how's it going? Lawrence is coming. Adam Pryor, how's it going, mate? Mark Furness, how's it going? Mick Nurse. Gary David. Richard Blakemore. Oh. Let me just see what Adam's just texted me there. Hope George comes on. Mr. Hobbs, got to make a few phone calls after this. How you doing, Scott Bowman? Hopefully he gets sorted out. Mr. Adam Winslet's just talking to me offline, trying to see how he can help. So let's have a look. Did you get his first bite? Just looking for your questions. Brother, just come on. Evening, bro. Evening, people. Evening. Thank you. Thanks, James. I'm having a bit of a problem with Jeff Ward's internet at the moment. He wasn't on very good. I was on for about 15 minutes beforehand trying to sort out with him, but he's gone off. Let me just see if I can WhatsApp him. See what he said. He's not WhatsApp me, so bummer. Just like to thank. While I'm thinking about, I've got it written down to right at the end anyway. I just want to thank Andy Hobbs, the man from Swindon, helping me out today massively. As a lot of you probably know, I've had an operation recently and I've been in a lot of pain, still having a lot of pain. Might have to go back to the docs. I think might even be a little bit of an issue. But yeah, I went off today to get the bike for the next competition after this hurling shirt in full kit, they're signed. And Mr. Andy Hobbs helped me out. He's the famous gorilla from the Western Beach race. A lot of you might know him there from his over-the-top stunt team that he did as well all over the country. He does the man with the van in Swindon, so I really appreciate him. He was going to lend me a van with man with the van, and instead he actually went there with me. So really appreciate that, Andy. Helped me out with the bike and everything, put it in and everything for me, and took it back to the house. I really appreciate that. Top man, Andy Hobbs. Much appreciated. Hi, Douglas. How's it hanging, Paul? Don't mention it, buddy. It's not going well. It's getting worse. Sure, we had green bikes because of Wardy. Maybe we probably did, Jay. Fingers crossed we can get Wardy back. Fingers crossed we can get Jeff all back. Sure, we had green bikes because of Wardy. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people in general that got green bikes on the basis of Jeff Ward was riding for Kawasaki, I'm sure. Right, let's just see if we can get this to work. He's just come in, fingers crossed. How's it working now, Jeff? Not working well, is it?
No, it just goes blank, and then to get pieces of your voice. I don't understand. I've never had this problem. Frustrating.
No, it's annoying, isn't it? Sorry about this. Not good. Is it a bit of a delay, probably, when I'm speaking?
Yeah, not too bad. The delay's not bad. It's just keeps cracking out and missing, little pieces here and there.
All right. Well, we'll try and persevere and see how we get on. I don't know if you can see that comes up on the screen. Rob Dennis asked Wardy what it was like racing with RJ and Bailey, and who did he think was harder to beat on race night?
It just depends on the track. I mean, RJ was super determined, and I had to race with him a lot harder. But Jean-Michel Bale was probably the more technical rider that was harder to figure out where he was going to go than RJ. RJ was pretty straightforward what he was doing, but we'd learn a lot from Jean-Michel Bale that he brought over. So it was just depending on either one of them was probably difficult, but I'd say probably RJ was probably, you had to worry about him a little more, being a little more aggressive than Jean-Michel Bale.
What about Gary Bailey as well?
Same thing. RJ was probably the toughest competitor I raced.
Yeah.
Jean-Michel Bale and even Bailey were just technical, smoother riders, passed more cleanly, where RJ was a little more dirty of a rider, or worried when he was behind you than those guys. Not that he was tougher to beat, just you had to watch out for his moves more than Bailey.
Okay. RJ liked the block pass and stuff, did he?
He was just aggressive. Yeah, I mean, he took space. There wasn't, where Bailey was more calculated and made the move, was 100% sure pretty much it was going to work, where RJ just sent it in there and, I had to fight him for it. So he was pretty difficult.
Okay, cool. I've got Gareth Edwards has come on. He's put, what a legend. Could you ask him how his riding style of going through all the rough stuff developed, and what was his training regime for motocross?
Let's see who read it here. Who also about, what'd you say, training for ruts? What did he say? I didn't hear it.
He said, could you ask how you developed your riding style to race through the rough stuff developed, and what was your training regime? If you can get that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
I got a lot of my balance trials. I rode trials, when I was talking a little bit earlier when I first started. So I was doing trials for a while, which was balance. I was on my, you're not supposed to put your foot down. So you learned a lot how to balance the bike while you're kind of at a bad angle. And that helped a lot with ruts, with being on my toes, and line choice, just being smooth and thinking ahead of, basically. So my riding style was always kind of pretty calculated on where I was going and what I was doing. I just didn't pin it and figure out where I was at. I knew where I was going to be in every corner, but the training was, it's not any secrets what everybody does. I mean, you just have to ride motos every day. And I loved running. I loved cycling. And I was big into weight programs with Jeff Spencer. He worked for Honda a little bit with Osho and for a year. And then I hired him. I had him for 10 years. So I did a lot of Olympic strength lifts. It was pretty much powerlifting. I was pretty small when I started, so I needed strength. And that was probably the biggest part of my training regimen was powerlifting.
Okay, interesting. Got Tony King has just come on and he's put, hi Jeff, can you still wheelie like you did on the start of any Sunday?
Yeah, that was on my mini trophy up at Saddleback Park. I was up there actually for a trials event. My dad, I was used to like going sections. I did actually doing the trials part. So there was really no mini bike races back in the middle 60s. That was around 68 when I think I did that wheelie around, because I think the movie came out in 69. I was outside, and there was this guy that was on the movie that was on that trials bike doing that wheelie up the hill and over the top, and that girl came by and was looking at him, and I saw him doing that. So there, started doing some wheelies, and then the camera guy asked if I could do a bunch more. So I went there and did a bunch of wheelies, and I just took off and did my deal, and I didn't know what it was for or anything. And then it came the movie, and we went and saw it, and I was in the movie. I had no idea I was, in the movie until we went and saw it. So it was pretty cool. And yeah, it's been kind of like a icon thing of mine. Of that movie was such a big deal at the time, and then I happened to be in it, and I made a career out of motorcycle. It stood out more than it wouldn't have stood out at all if I didn't win anything. So it was kind of
That's very cool. Yeah, very cool. I've got Nicky Jones has come on Facebook. He put, can you ask Jeff why he preferred running a full face mask?
I just grew up with open. Well, actually, I mean, I first started wearing a full face as a kid, and then went to the open face. And then I rode for Bell when I first started, and they had an open face, the Moto 3 or whatever it was called back then, the Moto 1 or whatever. And my first year at Cowie Nationals, I wore a full face, and then I was showy helmets. And they really didn't have a full face helmet, so I wore the open face helmet. So I wore the showy helmet from, 80, like, up till I wore an open face till about 89, I think. Maybe my 500s, I'm not sure. I think I had open face in the 500s as well for a while. So I went a long time. I just preferred, I mean, it wasn't that I hated a full face. The company I rode for didn't make them. So, and then I just enjoyed the freedom of having, just an open face, I guess. And it was just easier to breathe. And it was just, once I got the full face on, it was fine too. It's nothing that ever bothered me. That it's just that Shoei didn't make one at the time.
Okay, cool. I'll bring up some cool pictures about that in a bit. Rob Dennis is put, when did you get your first works bike? That come through, Jeff?
So do you hear me? You hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. When I get my first works bike,
Yeah.
I rode I rode for Yamaha my first half of my, and I got to ride Brock Glover's works factory Yamaha, the OW1 or whatever they called it, in 1978. My first year on the nationals. So that was my first works bike that I ever rode, and I got second on it my first race I ever rode the bike, and I couldn't get in the top 10 with my production bike I was on. So the works bike was a big upgrade back then. So that was my first factory bike. Was a Yamaha, which is
Very nice.
else on a Kawasaki. So then the next year after that was 79 that I rode the factory Kawasaki 125 the following year.
I've got Mike Bloom here. He's put, I know Jeff has rode a JR Speedway bike, but has Jeff ever rode a full-size Speedway bike?
No, I've never a full size Speedway bike. I may have ridden a smaller one, but I raced Speedway, but I was always on my Mini Trail 50 or a Bonanza Hadaka mini bike, actual like Speedway bike. And back when I was doing that locally, or just basically for intermission purposes, for all the Speedway guys that were there. I don't think they'd built little Speedway bikes like they have now. So I wasn't going to ride one of those big bikes. They're too fast, and I still haven't to the day. But um, I could get an opportunity. I mean, I know Greg Hancock pretty well, and did some stuff with him last year. I was on my flat or TT bike at the Speedway track, and he rode with the Speedway bike, and I was on the flat track bike. So that was kind of fun. Getting too old to try that new stuff, I think.
Still very fit though, Jeff. You do a lot still now, don't you?
Yeah, I'm extremely fit.
Mm.
Yeah, I cycle every day. I don't ride motocross really much anymore, just to the fact that bounce off the ground very well. So mentality of riding, I'm going to ride fast and push it, and it's just So I think I'm safer not. So I just stick with cycling and training some of the riding with now through cycling and I enjoy it. I do bicycle races and mountain bike races. I'm just riding with OSHA. We just did a photo shoot a couple weeks ago. So it's still kind of the same guys that I race with that are involved in cycling. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. What actually was if you had to pick one of your bikes, Jeff, what was your favorite race bike in your career and why?
1985, I won the
Yep.
Supercross and the Outdoor 250. It just took Kawasaki always seemed to be behind the curve of if it was water cooled or disc brakes or whatever. It always seemed like Honda came out with it first, and then when we did, our bikes were heavier. In '85, the bike just came to its own to where the weight was down, the bike handle kind of fell into place. A dominant bike, I thought, or at least I had a bike that I felt that it was even with the Hondas.
Mm-hmm.
And then my physical ability and talent helped that out a lot more than the years before. But we started getting good bikes in I'd say 83 to 80 when I won the 125 in 84. 50 was pretty good, and it just hit well in 85. And unfortunately 86 they went to the production rule, so we went from finally getting the bike we thought was the best bike out there to starting over with a production bike that wasn't the best production bike. So it was a
Yeah.
struggle few times with the bikes that we had at the time.
Yeah, because Scott actually did ask that. Like, did you feel disadvantaged against the Honda powerhouse?
Yeah, the Honda was a
Mm.
dominant team. I mean, their
Yeah.
bikes, the factory bikes, when they came out, they just put a lot more effort into those bikes than Kawasaki, and I don't think Kawasaki quite had maybe the riders at the time to develop the bikes. And then when I came around, I was still young, and they started to start building their bikes around me, and they just started getting, like I said, they finally started peaking at 85. I think we had the best bike out there, and then the production roll took a while to Kawasaki to kind of catch up on the production. I think had a better production. Suzuki probably had a better production bike. So, but our 500 that we had was the best bike for sure, I thought, and I think everybody else did too. So that was nice to have once we got on the 500s, that we did have a bike that was right out of the box, probably the best bike.
Yeah, that was good then. I've got Andrew Stinton here. I did have this down as well, so that's good, Andrew. You put, did Jeff ever contemplate racing in the World Championship GPs in Europe?
I did come as one of my goals, actually.
Was it?
Doing the donations. Well, doing the donations from 83 all the way up to 90. I missed 1 year in 86 and raced with all the guys, with Thorpe and Malherbe and, Vimond and just everybody. And I felt like on the 500, I was a really competitive rider at the time in 89 and 90, or even 87, probably one of the top 500 riders. And I just thought it'd be super cool because I grew up, in the 500 World Championship with Roger and Malherbe and all Thorpe and everybody. I followed them, and it was a big deal over here. World champ. So in my eyes, I felt, even though Supercross was kind of like, you had to be like this. Supercross was kind of a big thing, but still, the World Championship was, I thought, bigger. And I just thought I'd do it, but it just never kind of happened. I thought 88, I had aspirations of doing it, and then I just kind of kept winning over here, and it became easier, and it was going to be a big to do it, and then it seemed like my career was like ending, and it was like, well, do I want to start on a whole going over there and redo it? So it just kind of fizzled out a little bit. Maybe I didn't push it hard enough. I could have probably pushed it, but I made a decision to retire, like a year or so before I did, kind of. So it just kind of didn't fit into the puzzle there, and I wanted to go car racing, so I just kind of moved over to that without coming over. But I really did want to.
Interesting. Right, I've got someone here has put, hi Lee, say hello to Wardy for me, please. Can you ask him about his match race against Greg Hancock at the Connor Cup?
Yeah, that was Bruce Penhal's put that on.
Yeah.
And I'd been there before watching it, but I was racing TT that year, the AMA flat track for fun, and I've always gone out of the event Connor, and so they came up with something about me bringing my TT bike out, and then Greg was bringing a Speedway bike out to make it kind of a match race, intermission, fun deal, and I had a great time. It was fun, but the Speedway bike he could allow me in 3 laps if he wanted to. I mean, the flat track bike doesn't turn, it doesn't get traction.
Yeah.
It's not made for that. I mean, we made it fun. He'd go outside and look like he was hauling, and I'd stick it underneath, and we just made a little fun thing at the finish line. But it was good for pictures and stuff. But it was, the Speedway bike could just anything around an oval like that, no matter what it was.
All right, thanks for that, Bruce Pennell. I didn't realize that was you because it didn't come up on there, but thanks for that. Great to see you on. It's great having you on the other night. Right, I've got Dan Merrifield here. He's put, who is Jeff's favourite British rider of any era?
British rider? I don't know. I mean, I'm good friends with Kurt, Nicole. I think he's probably been, and then, I mean, Thorpe too. So, I mean, there's been a lot of guys that, that I've grew up racing, so, those guys were probably the top riders I knew at the time. Once after, Kurt, and that I didn't follow. I mean, I followed it, but I didn't, wasn't racing them at the time, and so I really didn't follow it too much after that. But like Kurt and them there, so that was. I had a lot of good. I liked a lot of the European riders over there. I mean, Joe Bay was a good friend of mine because he rode Kawasaki, and he was always super cool to me. I came over and helpful, and even though they wanted, like for the donations, even though they wanted it extremely bad, or if we were over in Paris, Supercross, it wasn't their forte, but they still wanted it. They were just super helpful with getting around, or if needed anything, or something like that. So it was always enjoyable to go over there and hang around with those guys. And it's kind of why I wanted to go over there and race for a season or two, but it just never happened.
I've got Lee Britton. He's come up on about your move from Glasgow in Scotland to the USA. You were quite young, weren't you, when you did that move?
Yeah, I was 2 years old, so I had no choice.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen a motorcycle yet. I don't remember it. My dad moved over here to Southern California from go, and he didn't know anybody. Nobody from his family was here. He just picked up and moved and landed in Southern California and worked at a car dealership, and then got some motorcycles and started doing, like I said, trials in Southern California. And it was kind of big over here, though. It kind of started taking off, and so that, that's how I started riding. But there was no mini bike races here. There was barely motocross racing, and the early season until the 60s started. The Trans Am came over here, and we didn't have the Super Bowl motocross, the first one, I don't think, till 74. So there was really no stadium racing. So I didn't have a dream to go motorcycle racing. I just was riding local places when my dad would take me. And he used to have Sammy Miller, the trials guy, world champion, was over our house. And Mick Andrews, he was a world champion. So guys from Europe used to come over and stay at our house, the trials guys. And that's kind of how I started. But so I was just, and then when, I lived, so I had no choice.
It's just popped into my head. I remember a friend on Facebook mentioned this to me. He sent me a picture, actually, but I didn't put it on tonight. You did a Supercross in the UK at Bellevue Speedway, I believe. I don't know if you remember that in Manchester.
Yeah.
That would have been.
You remember that? Yeah. I meit was a long time ago. I can't remember what the outcome was, but I remember going there.
That's brilliant.
We had a lot of races. We had a lot of races in Europe. That was probably like our 5th stop or something, because we'd do Paris 4 nights and then go to Geneva for 2 nights. Then the next 2 days later, we'd be in Holland and then over to the UK. So yeah, it was like a 5 years there. It was like a traveling circus, just hitting all those races. And they were fun, but then it became old after a while, after you'd been and then you just want to stay home and focus on racing here and not travel so much. But when you're younger, it was a lot more fun.
I'm not sure who wrote this, but I rode with Jeff at Russ Darnell's track. It was amazing. He was so cool, spent time around him. So I'm not sure if you know who that is.
Russ Darnell's track. I'm not sure where that is. Was that over in Europe somewhere?
Not sure because they've not registered their names. So unfortunately, we can't chase that one up. But I'll move on. Hopefully, they'll come back on. I've got Scott Bowman. He put, "Will we see you at Farley Castle again, Jeff?"
Yeah, I had a good time at the Vet Donations when we were over there with Ronnie and Dubach and Rhino. Yeah, I haven't been. I'm sure I would be invited if I put something out that I wanted to. But like I said, I don't ride much, anymore. So I'd have to start practicing a little bit. But it's something that's not out of the question. It just depends, if Stanton would go over and RJ really didn't because of his wrist, but I'm sure we can find a couple other guys to, Dubach still rides a lot, and somebody that Sipes or somebody that's fast. It's just we went over. It was just for fun, and I hadn't been riding much. I needed to ride more. I did when I went over, but fun. I know my family would love to come over. My daughter came with me last time, but I'm sure the rest of my family would love to come over and see London and get back up to Scotland or something too.
Yeah, I'm sure Dave King from Farley would love that if the opportunity arose. I've got Gary David here on Facebook. He's put, "Hi Lee, can you ask Jeff what old bikes he's still got? Have you got any of your championship bikes or anything like that as well, Jeff?" Or
I had a few of the museum that has it now. The kind of travelers where they're sitting at because I don't have room for them, and so they're kind of spread around. There's like 120 cow at Pro Circuit, I think, right now. So there's a few of them still, but I don't have any here at my place, so they'd be useless here. Nobody can see them.
right, okay. I got Lawrence Hare, who did Speedway in the UK. He's put about the Oakley factory pilot full page adverts with Jeff on were one of the most iconic of all time. And he's also put, and what was it like to be in the rising era where the US started to dominate the scene when the MX the Nation streak and everything? I've actually got the picture of this somewhere.
Yeah, the Oakley ads were. I mean, they were really cool. I mean, with the Bomber and Osho and RJ, and at the time, yeah, there they are. There,
Very nice.
Jim Gennard. Jim Gennard that owned Oakley he did all the photos himself in studio, and he's the one that came up with all the ideas, and it was pretty cool that he put out uh, advertising like that for the riders, and to get our name out there. So it was a big help for us personally and doing that, and they were just really cool ads. They were just something time, I think, and they still look good today. They're
Yeah.
fun looking ads. But yeah, as far as the auditions, it was cool to be on the team that many times, and luckily I won every time I was on the team. So not all by my doing. I mean, because of my team, I had some good races too, but then there was times I needed, it wasn't for Stanton a few times, and a couple other things that we were lucky to have four, and some races four riders, and other three just really good guys that we really had to get rid of a moto and let crash or braking. So for those years we were pretty solid.
I've got some good pictures here as well. There's one there, look.
Yeah, that's at the White House right there with Ronald. That picture, pretty cool.
That must have been, yeah, that must have been very cool.
Yeah, he was really cool. He was doing some other stuff, and he was just talking about he wasn't too sure about the motorcycle stuff and those, but he liked riding horses, so he said he'd stick with that. It was cool. That I think is Sweden or somewhere. I think maybe Finland or Sweden. It's probably Finland because David didn't ride in Sweden the next week because he hurt his wrist, and Brock Glover flew over and took his position the next week. So that's in '84. Yeah,
just when we just talking about the nation, I was just trying to.
Yeah, that's like 90 or something, I think, in or something with Bradshaw. Doing, I don't know, parade in the town or something.
Was this the nations as well? That one, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, that Gildorf '89 on the 500 class when Thorpe and I went at it for the first moto. Got some really good pictures of us together. Yeah, he was like 10 feet behind me I won that first moto, and then second moto I had a shock failure or something. I don't know what happened, but I didn't do so well the second moto. I think he got the probably that day, but yeah, that was a fast track. But we raced there twice in '85 and then '89 at Gildorf.
On the numbers thing, did you ever? I know obviously a lot of it changed on wherever you finished in the championship or whatever like that. But was there? Did you ever have a favorite number at all? And was there any reason you liked a specific number in your career?
Number one was always a good number.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we didn't have like a permanent system like they do now. We always got our numbers ranked by our total points from outdoors and Supercross combined, and then that was your real number, unless you were number one in the class. Like when I rode 500, I was number one, but the 250 that year, Stanton probably maybe won it. So I was number 2 because I had the highest amount of points out of both. So I'd have the next first number besides 1, and then he'd have number 3 or 5 or 6 or whatever. So I was number 2 a lot, had the most points out of both. And then the one class I'd have a number 1 from like 85 to 91. I always had a number 1 plate on it at some point, pretty much. And then I like the number 3. 3 kind of fit me for my last couple. I was number 3 for a few years, so that was a good number. But there was really never, there wasn't a favorite number because we didn't get to pick them. We just got stuck with whatever number we were at that year, and you just had to like it, And my last year I was number 6 because the year before I had shoulder problems, so I had to pull out the Supercross and lost a lot of points. So my last year I was number 6 for the full. So
I remember that. I got David K is just come on and put what was Jeff's favorite Supercross track and what was his favorite outdoors track?
Favorite out track, Washougal, Washington was always my favorite. Back when we raced, the trees in Washington with the pine trees, and it reminded me more of a European track, basically. I just seemed to do there. I think I won 9 out of 12 nationals I raced there, and was one of my second overall wins was up there. I had championships that fell at that track. That was the last race of the year. My first 250, first 5 national championships is where I won it there. It was the last one. Same with the 250. It was the last race. So it's always had good memories and good track. As Supercross goes, it's kind of not even really the track. It's probably more the venue because the tracks change every year and it's not the same track, So, it'd be more of a town or, I did well at Houston. I won 4 years in a row at Houston. It wasn't my favorite town though, just because of where the stadium was at. But Daytona was always cool because you're at Daytona Beach and Bike Week, and it was just more of a fun event than most of the other races. There's just a lot more going on with the road the same week and same week. And there's not really a specific track that I would Supercross track because they change them every year. But probably the favorite town was probably Daytona, just because of the motorcycle industry was all there for Bike Week, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, very nice event. Did you have any favorite tracks when you obviously went over to Europe quite a bit with the MX Nations and a few other bits? Was there any over there that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, there was. I mean, every track we went to was pretty good. Probably the favorite track would be, I think we were in Czechoslovakia in '83. I have no idea what town it was or name of it was at a ski resort. It was in a ski. Right. The ski lifts were going up the hill, and we'd go up, head up the hill a couple levels, and turn and come back down the ski lift, and on the other side of the hill, the slopes or whatever's over there, and it was just great in the natural terrain and off cambers, and it was just a super kind of like riding on a golf course or something. Like you shouldn't be there, it should be against the law. So that was a really cool track, and we had a race in Belgium, and I think in '83 as well. It was pretty cool because it looked like it was behind just a bunch of houses and farm fields. We had to go over a couple of wooden bridges, to go across some streams. So stuff that we see here in the States, everything over here was pretty much, permanently built. This seemed like they just said, let's go make a track over here in this, cow field and this hillside and go across the stream. And it was all natural, around big apple trees. And so, yeah, there was a lot of cool tracks over there. And there's some nice ones here too, but over there, just a lot more greener and more natural than over here.
Definitely. Was there any tracks in the US that you didn't like particularly, that didn't really like them for some reason?
Sand tracks, Southwick. We have a track Southwick here, the Sand Rider.
Yeah,
so, a little bit more than other places. So, anything sand. Yeah, I was more of a local Southern California guy that would blue groove, hard packed. type stuff to where when it got loose, it was just a different riding style. Not that I wasn't bad at it, but just wasn't my favorite. You either like riding in the mud or you don't. So it's that was kind of it.
Okay, we've got Douglas Crocker here. Has put as riding as a pro back then, would you be worth any more as riding as a pro now? Did you get that, Jeff?
What's it say here? As
riding as a pro back then,
back when would you be worth any more as a? What does he mean by money wise, or?
I think that's what he's. I think that's what he's meaning. I think that's what he's meaning.
Well, of course, I'd be worth the contracts now or more. Everything's just gone up a lot since when I raced. There was some $1 million contracts, but they were for 2 or 3 years and bonus stuff, and that was all there. But that was in the '80s, which was probably. If you had $1 million contract for 3 years, it was probably like having a $3 million contract or something for here, now at 30 years, 40 years. We got paid well, but I think I would be, with my credentials and winning 7 championships, I would be at the top of the list of the price of fighting for a fact. I would be like a Roxon or Tomac. I'd be getting, if I was in that position with what I'd accomplished, anything, then I'd be getting, what the second place guy or the third place guy would be getting right now. So, if you went off my numbers on the races I won, then I'd,
Yeah. Okay. I got Pete Skeverton here. He's put, all right, Lee. What's Jeff's favourite memory from doing motocross? Is there a specific memory that's one of her favourites for you?
My favorite memory. A lot of them. But, something.
Oh yeah.
Are we back?
Yeah, we're back now. Yeah.
Yeah, just did like a whole reboot there for a second.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of good memories. The biggest memory, it was probably winning my first championship on the 125. Just because it took so long to get it. Kawasaki hadn't won a championship. Just a lot of pressure. I've been riding 5 years on the nationals and I hadn't got it yet, so the work, just a lot of, like I said before, the bikes were still trying to catch up to like the Barnett days on 25. You weren't at Suzuki. I don't care who you put on it. And Barnett on it was even, was pretty much a given that he was in that. And it took a while. Then O'Shell came, I was competitive, and then we finally got the bike. So getting that first championship was the biggest memory that I have, just because it took so long to get there and the pressure to get it. And I had a year that year. So that was to get the monkey off the back, I guess. And then that really kind of opened the floodgates to Supercross and outdoor the next year. And then I just kept winning championships after that, because it just kind of took the pressure off of having to get that first one, it seemed like.
Well, I got a chap here on YouTube. He's put, "Hi Jeff, what do you think of the great riders like Jeremy McGrath saying that you were their childhood hero?"
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that. So guys like Carmichael, somebody that followed me as I was one of their idols. It's cool. I got to race with Jeremy because we raced Supermoto together, teammate in Supermoto. So I got to race him with the AMA Supermoto and the X Games, and I was also 48 years old, so it was I was old, but he was on Team Green when I was still racing Supercross. Jeremy and Carmichael was racing for Team Green Kawasaki, and he came to a few races where I got pictures of him sitting next to me when he was 11 years old, So, yeah, it's cool having those guys, that I was their hero growing up, and motivated them to say, hey, I want to, do what this guy's doing. So that's cool.
Yeah, right. I've got Stuart Flockhart's just come online, and he's put, there he is. Hey, guys.
What's that?
Do you see on the screen, Stuart Flockhart? I think you did an interview with him, didn't you, as well?
Oh,
He's
yeah,
just put, hey.
yeah. That's Scotland. Yeah, he sent me some
Yeah, that's
T-shirts and
it.
stuff. He's super cool.
Yeah.
He's super cool.
Yeah, he's doing a great job with Scottish motocross as well. So, hey to Stuart out there. Oh, I've got Farley Castle man on as well, Mr. Dave King. He's put, hi,
Dave,
Jeff. Yeah, he's put, hi, Jeff. Having been born in Scotland, did you ever consider helping the old homeland out and riding for the UK at the Motocross the Nations? Cheers, Dave King.
I was never asked, so I don't know if I could have done that or not, but yeah, if I did, I don't know. I probably wouldn't have 7 wins. I don't think so. Uh, we definitely had a little better riders from the United States at the time, but yeah, no. I mean, I've always carried my Scottish heritage, pride. My mom and dad, born my uncles here, cousin Scott, and still keep in touch with some cousins. So, yeah.
Oh,
Back again because my
yep,
thing just went
yep.
off. So I have relatives, still over there that kind of keep it. Actually, when my mom passed away, her sister came over, a couple of cousins. So yeah, I still got big. I mean, yeah, it would have been cool. It just didn't work out, and I never had done any racing over in Europe, so I was kind of made over here with the people that from the United States. So that's kind of where my racing came from.
Right, I've got
Can you hear that in the back?
yeah, that nice little air raid sound going on.
It was a siren.
Is
Well, we
everything
have
all?
by the water, so they have like
Right,
a
is everything
warning
all good?
system in case
Right.
tsunami or something. I don't know. So they just tested it.
All right, okay, good. As long as you're all good. Got Matt
Yeah,
Burns
yeah.
here.
It sounded like a siren going off, bombing siren.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Right, got Matt Burns here. He's put, hey Lee, great guest, mate. Can you ask Wardy if Ricky Johnson had much of an advantage on the whoops over him, given he could get his hips over the back wheel?
Yeah, no, being small didn't help.
Mm,
But then, Carmichael's small too. He had no problem. It's just a matter of, yeah, he
mm,
probably had an advantage on me a little bit there. But then I had advantage on some of the tight corners and, ruts. I didn't have long legs to get, my body was a little small, more compact on Supercross to being a little quicker, on some of the other stuff. So yeah, there was always give and take on that. I mean, uh, our bikes weren't set up probably as good as they should have been for the type those skating hoops like they are now. Because the other parts of the track were so rough and rutted and bumpy, we need suspension that moved. So it didn't work that well, those hoops, when you skidded and skated through them. Nowadays that the rest of the track is super brake. There's barely any brake bumps, and so they can run stiff. Our tracks were they weren't prepped as like they were now. So, but yeah, he had a little advantage, going through the hoops a little bit than what I had, but that was only a few that would be, and then the rest were either jumped through or the ruts were so deep you couldn't, and became more balanced. But yeah, there's an advantage being tall, and there's an advantage of being a little smaller side too. So it evens out.
yeah, cool. I got Paul Wood. He's put, did you ever race the fast cross in Italy?
No, I never did the Philly. I don't know why I never made it down to there, but only things there was Geneva Supercross. I think that was the only Supercross I ever raced there, but I never did the fast cross. I don't believe I did. It's hard to remember, but that was more like an outdoor type Supercross or something, wasn't it? I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I can't remember. I don't think I ever did the fast cross.
Okay. I've got Lee Britton. It's put, are you still going to any of the AMA Supercross races at all?
I haven't this year just because of the COVID thing, and I'm not working with
Yeah.
the rider this year that's racing in the series. I'm working with two other guys, amateur guys that will be either this year late outdoor stuff or next year. So it's just a pain right now, the virus of getting tested, and you
Mm.
can't go to other trailers anyway and talk to people. You're supposed to stay at one air, so it's just kind of a waste to go unless you're just going to go there and watch in the stands and then go back home. We don't have any in California. There's no races in California, so you have to fly to it because California won't let them have them. So it's just a weird deal.
Mm. Yeah.
I went
I've
to,
got.
with
Have we lost you there a little bit? Can you hear me still?
yeah, I hear you.
Okay, cool. Got Davey Elliott here. He's put hiya, Wardy. Loved you guys in the Supercross. Best ever with Ronnie, RJ, and Brock. The list goes on. Who give you the nickname the Flying Freckle?
I got that as a young kid just because I mean, being born in Scotland, my skin wasn't made for the sun. So when we came to Southern California, and I had a house down by the beach, and just I was in the sun all the time, and my skin just freckled up. I had freckles all over my, just, and then it's just I just had freckles, and they just called me the Flying Freckle because that's what I was, and kind of stuck with me for a while, pretty much through my mini bike days, and then my freckles kind of disappeared a little bit, went away. So um, that's how that started, just because I had a ton of freckles.
Okay, good. GP Chrissy's put, what did Jeff, think of the perimeter chassis when he first tested it for the 1990 season? All right.
Yeah, it was an event. It was definitely stiffer, just wasn't a big deal to me. Like I was more worried about probably motor stuff and suspension. I was worried maybe the frame being a little stiffer or not stiff, and
Mm.
it's just something you had to work with. If the frame was stiffer and it didn't turn as well because of that, they had to work on the forks to make it turn. Just do other things with head angle and just different things like that you would do anyway, just from getting new bikes and testing. So it made the bike a little more rigid, a little more stiffer, which is probably good for Supercross. But then it also changed the bike a little bit to work with that stiffness and progress slowly. Like I said, now everybody wants to be stiff as heck. They don't want the bike flexing, and they want this, and this. So it was slowly going in that direction, but it wasn't like a big enough jump to really mess up the bike or change the bike from one year to the other. I didn't feel, I think the 500 stayed with the same frame, I think, until they retired it. It started with a steel frame and it never switched. So those frames worked fine. It's just started going into just a different, I don't know the reason why they went to that, because if it did make it stiffer, maybe that's why they did it, or maybe it made it lighter as well than being round. I have no idea, because you could maybe get away with less, I don't know, material. I have no idea, but it wasn't a big. It looked better. It looked cool, if anything. That's it.
I got Alan Carter here. I had him on last night for an interview, former MotoGP rider, a winner. Alan Carter has put, how good was Rick Johnson?
Well, he was good. If I didn't have to have raced Ricky, I'd have 5 more championships. So
Yeah.
he was one of my biggest rivals, and he was extremely competitive. I mean, he hated that I mean, that's how we kind of thrived off each other. I mean, we each other. He hated when I won. So he fought tooth and to beat, to beat me, and that raised my level, because I knew what I had to do. And I also had that with Osho. We just did not like each other, and we just raised our levels of just because we knew what we had to do to beat each other. And if I didn't have those guys, and there's always that guy that's the champion that you have to work harder to, whether it was Barnett. We knew what we had to do to beat Barnett, and God, nobody wanted to, but we had to. So if you didn't have those guys in there push you, we'd never get to the level that we got. Yeah. But RJ was, he was a determined guy. Like I said, was going to do what it took to beat you, and when he got in the, hit in the mouth and he was closing on, you were trying to find lines, and you just might as well he was coming no matter what you did. He just, and it wasn't going to be your night, and then there's times I'd pull away, or it'd be the reverse. He'd be out front and I'd be on and close up, and he knew kind of the same thing. It's like, I'm not going to be able to shut this guy down. So it was great, and then we're done racing. We're good friends. But we always got together in the donations, even with, with Johnny and whoever, Brock or David, we fought tooth and nail every year for championships. And then when we came to the donations, we got along like we'd been teammates for years, and it was a big motivation to go over there and prove how, good riders we were. Seems now they've kind of lost that feeling of like community, like American racing. It's kind of more individual, and I don't care about the world type thing. It's just me. And to where back then, we were about ourselves, but then like, okay, let's go show the rest of the world how good we are, and that's what our mentality, nowadays. I don't think that's the mentality. I don't think they care that if they're the best or not, or in the world, as long as they win whatever they're doing right now. So it's changed a little bit, but we were always pretty prideful of working together and do whatever it took to win and put our pride aside. And it didn't matter who won motos. It didn't matter who won the overall, who was the quickest in practice. It was just about winning that day. And, and that's kind of what we did.
Spot on, proper teammates. I like that. Andrew Stinton here has put, you went on to 4 wheels in IndyCar and then the Lucas Oil truck racing. Was that more fun than 2 wheels?
It's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot more nerve-wracking because I didn't grow up with it. Motocross, motorcycles are like walking, natural, kind of like that's where I grew up on. And then to step into Indy cars that I had never done anything in my life until I was 31, of any type of racing cars. I never raced a go-kart in my life. So there was just an element of being uncomfortable, like getting in, and I just didn't know everything that could go wrong or what would go wrong or set up. So it's have confidence when you've never done it and you've never been in a position to figure out what to do about it. So it was a lot harder and nerve-wracking. I became comfortable after a while. It seemed like it took 4 or 5 years, and then I started feeling to where I kind of pretty much kind of knew what I was doing a little more than just kind of going by the seat of the pants and hoping. But it was a big step. I mean, Indy cars are no joke. And the Indy 500, I did it 7 times, and the speeds are fast. Things can go wrong in a heartbeat, and the car's telling you stuff, and if you're not listening, it's going to be big. And so it's a lot of nerve-wracking. It's kind of like for the first time, like you just don't know if you've never done it. If you send somebody out there to do a triple that has never done a triple, and you've watched people do it, you still don't know what it's going to feel like until you do it. So it's kind of the same in cars. You just didn't know what a crash was going to feel like. You didn't know what cold tires. There's so many things that was super difficult to do. And I was pretty, proud of myself of being able to get where I did in car racing. And then the auto trucks came more natural. It's just throwing, I know dirt, I know jumps. You just kind of know where the guy's going, what he's thinking of diving in and out, and kind of like Supercross, that you should know the guy's coming inside when you heard him and you left the door, and you got to expect. And So that off-road truck stuff I was a lot more comfortable in, and felt, more at ease when I got into that than the Indy cars were still. I got in it, it was always felt a little bit uncomfortable for a little while until I got going.
Yeah. Very cool. I've got someone on YouTube here, Zuma46. He put, Hi, Jeff. Hi, Jeff. Do you remember much from riding the Ken Hore International here in England in 1982?
Yeah, I do. I remember 500. I came over there with my mechanic, Mike McAndrews, for that race, I believe. Maybe we had a Supercross down the road or something, but I don't know why I came over to do that because I'd never really raced a 500 before.
All right. Okay.
But I remember it was muddy. I remember I struggled a lot. I don't think I did as well as I wanted to do, if I remember right. But I just remember, I think Graham Noyce was there. I can't remember. Just some older riders that I remembered, kind of growing up a little bit. And I don't know, just because it was local or something, but I think it was a British champion, probably.
Mm.
But I just don't, if it was it says the Ken Hall Invitation here. I don't remember if that was what it was or if it was a British championship. I don't even know why we were racing it, but I did race the race in England back in '82 on the Fox, and I just remember it raining and just struggling with some steep downhill stuff that you couldn't stop, and you hit the fence at the bottom to to make the left-hand corner. But yeah, I do remember doing a race if that was the race. So
cool. I remember it was an international race and a big race, and I think it used to be on a bank holiday, and it used to be at Langrish that I remember. So I'm not sure if it was at Langrish track. I'm sure someone else could write down there if it's still
like
is.
I said, I don't remember. I remember going over there because I went with my mechanic, and I was surprised how fast guys it was. But then again, it was muddy, and that's the thing for those guys over there. I wanted to pack up and go home when the rain came, and they wanted to get out there and ride. So it was two different mentality going on.
That's brilliant. I got a nice comment here from the linesman off of YouTube. He put, best error in motocross was when Wardy and Johnson were battling it out. I miss the good old days. Jeff's a legend and a great ambassador to the sport. It's a nice one there.
Cool. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, it was a lot of years raced, and we had a lot of good ride. I mean, there was a lot of good back in the '80s and early '90s. That kind of paved the sport a little bit. And I mean, there was guys of Marty Smith, those riders and everything, and so yeah, there was a lot of good guys.
For sure. David Kay's put, was winning the Indy 500 win more to you than a Supercross or an outdoor win?
So fixing something here. What's that?
Okay. David Kay here put, was winning in the Indy 500 win more to you than a Supercross or an outdoor win? Don't know if you can see it as well.
For some reason, it's hard to see. It was cutting out here. Well, actually, some reason battery here went wacko. To say the Indy 500 more than the Supercross or outdoor win. Yeah, the Indy 500 was a big race. I mean, it's one of the biggest races in the world. So
yeah,
super nerve wracking. Yeah, there's just nothing like being even a spectator going there. There's nothing like it in the world. So it's hard to not. And like I said, I was always out of my element a little bit in car racing, so it felt a little bit harder, than when you're so comfortable with it, and naturally, it's your profession. It doesn't seem as big. You always seem to, look up to other sports all the time, like, oh my God, you guys are awesome, and the sport you're doing is just as crazy and as awesome, but you're just in it and you don't realize it.
Yeah.
But then sport that you idolize and followed IndyCar guys, Mir, you go there, you just feel out of place a little bit because of it, and then just the overwhelmingness of how ice is something you can't just, you know, learn to deal with, you know. So yeah, it was the Indy stuff was a big deal to me, more than it was more simple getting into something I had no.
Yeah, cool. I've got Kevin Wheeler here. He's put Jeff Ward, an absolute legend. Does he have a trophy room? And if so, can he walk us around it?
You know, I don't have that many trophies in my bedroom in here right now. I just came upstairs. I got a rookie year. I got a couple trophies right here at the rookie of the year at Indy. That's Paris. This is the Hall of Fame of America, the motorsport. That's on my small desk here. And then downstairs, I have some motocross donations, and that's it. I don't have any trophies. It's like,
Did you
I
give
just
him
didn't
away or?
really. A lot of stuff I did, yeah. Our national trophies we got were junk. You know, they were just plastic tall trophies, and usually leaving the victory state or whatever. If you won, walking out, I'd give it to some kid, you know, waving at me or something. I'd say, "Here you go," and go back. And but then the special one, like the donations and races in Europe, they give away nice plaques. And I have a race shop up where I have a lot of stuff and pictures and more than in the house. So I just have some crystal stuff from the donations downstairs, and that's really it. So, and there's a couple pictures. Big. I don't have a giant room with stuff and piled in there, and just don't have that. So.
Okay, cool. We got no name on this one, but it's put hello, Jeff. How did you and the other riders feel when the European riders like JMB came over to race, and how did the crowd take to them?
When JMB came over to race,
How did the riders feel when the
kind of,
European riders started coming
they
over?
I mean they recepted them okay, but you know it's the same as it is now. I mean, I think it was worse then than it is now. Bigger competition of there wasn't that many international guys over here. Like when Jean-Michel came over, he was like probably the only international guy besides. I mean, I think everybody else was American. I don't even know who else was that came over from Europe to race. He was one of the first guys. So, and he was fast. So, yeah, he wasn't received well as they are now. I mean, everybody accepts Ken Roxon and Marvin and you know everybody. It's just a natural. It's like he's part of the series. You know, it's more of a series to where back then it was kind of like the outsider because back then it was like America versus you know Europe, just the same in just like the motocross really kind of. So, and then some of the riders really didn't like him, you know, too well.
Mm.
So I was always talking with them, and we'd hang out spaces and shoot. And he was, you know, he was always cool to me. So I don't think because we didn't, you know, I wasn't naturally a aggressive, dirty rider. So my passes were always pretty clean, and to where like when you had RJ or Bradshaw or something, they were aggressive to begin with, and then even putting a French guy, Jean-Michel Bell, European, in front of you as well, it just more. So for those guys, I just come as another competition. They took it a little more to heart that you know, an outsider, great with them, and he elevated the sport over here with his technique. So I enjoyed him coming over here.
I've got
and we even
Mr.
had a little. We
Go on, carry on.
I was just gonna say that Jean-Michel Ben, I ran into him on Des Nations in France.
Oh,
He
okay.
was world champion 125, right? So I rode the
Mm,
125 class that day,
yeah.
and he beat me and got second behind Ronnie, who won both motos in the 500. And I got second in the 125 class, the first moto, and then him and I were going at it the second moto, and cleaned him out in this corner, and went down, and the fans were gonna kill me because it was in France, and he was the world champion, 125 guy, and
Mm,
it wasn't more of a clean out than his line came, because he was how he'd square up and he'd take weird
mm,
lines. I'm just hitting the main, and he crossed, and kind of we came together, and it wasn't like I was T-boning him. It's just that's where the line went, and I was able to hang on, and he went down. So um, it kind of started a big deal there with the French fans. But even him after that coming over, he had no hard feelings, because he doesn't a takeout. It was just hard racing. So I got to race with him before he even came over to the U.S. to race, and I knew we were to have trouble right away with how he was going to Supercross. So it was
cool.
good.
I've got hi Jeff from Stuart Edmonds. He's living in he's a British guy who lives in Australia now. I grew up watching Supercross races from the 90s on Saturday night and then racing on a Sunday. I just wondered, did you have more fun riding when you were growing up, or once you had all the factory pressures? And also, I still ride only in the bush over here for pleasure. Do you still get out for fun as well?
I still get out for fun now and again. I mean, I like trail riding more than I do riding motocross tracks, just because
Hmm.
I can still jump and I don't need to be doing that anymore. So
Yeah.
it's a little safer. Just is a little safer to go trail riding, or some other fun stuff and doing the motocross track thing. But what was the other part of the question? If I was more nervous doing what now? I didn't get the
He
second
put
part.
did you have more fun riding when you were growing up, or once you had the factory pressures?
I didn't mind the pressure. I mean, I don't think there was a lot of pressure,
Mm.
except on yourself. I mean, really. I mean, the pressures I wanted to, but I didn't feel like the pressure from anybody else, like that I had to. I mean, like I said, it took me 5 years, I think, to win my first championship with Kawasaki. So, but at the time, like I said, when we first started, our bikes were junk. So then when the bikes got good, then I wasn't up to par physical wise yet to be winning. So it was kind of a partnership of, I was waiting for the bikes to get better, and they were kind of waiting for me to develop into my strength of training, and where they came together in '84. So I didn't feel like I just had pressure on myself of wanting to win a championship, and not, I didn't know how long my career was going to go. I didn't know what on the corner, so I didn't want a career without winning a championship. Be kind of a waste, or not a great career. But fortunately, once it clicked, it just kept clicking, and I stayed, not injury free, but injury where I didn't miss seasons or it jeopardized my ability to ride a motorcycle. So I was really fortunate in that area.
Jeff, did you have any favorite race gear that you wore over your career that you used to like and like?
Percent of solo from '83 on, my JT racing before that. JT was the gear to have when in the '70s and early '80s. I
Mm,
mean, all the top guys had them here in the States. Marty Smith, all the factory guys was JT. It had all the big names racing JT. So of course I'm a JT guy for, for 3-4 years in my factory, and then went to Solo. So um, I only went through real career. I had just two different brands. Like I went through 5 different brands. But it's a cool company, Finland. Just a little bit, off the beaten path a little bit with some ideas and some things, just being from Europe and the racing over there. A good job with advertising and representing the riders that they did, and good people, Rath Camp there, and so it was it was good company. So both those gears were nice gears, but I thought Cinesol did a good job with it. And then I had Troy Lee. That's where I was on point. So then better when you had a killer helmet.
Yeah, very nice. Did you have any superstitions or anything, Jeff, when you during your career that you had?
Not really. I mean, just the helmet deal. You got a brand new helmet, you got to scratch it on the ground. Just put a little ding in the back so it doesn't get a major one from crashing it. So just to give it the feel, so the helmet knows that was always it. It seemed like that for years. And then one time I went to Japan, I didn't scratch my helmet, and I did the biggest cartwheel and destroyed it. And like, I didn't get hurt, and I'm like, oh man, I forgot. So then that became even more of a superstition of just putting that thing on the dirt and the ground and giving it a little nick. So that was basically about it. So it was, most riders have that even to today. The new helmets, they seem like they just have to put a little scratch on them, because if you don't, then the ground puts a really one on it when you hit. So
I like that. I got Adam Winslet. He put, is Mark Barnett the most underrated motocross rider in America?
Underrated, yes, I would say so. I don't know why he doesn't get the accolades he deserved, because he was Supercross champion, 4-time, 3-time 125 in a row. I mean, he dominated the class, and then the 50 he was dominant. I mean, one of the fittest guys out there. I mean, at the time, I mean, he brought the training level to another level. And he was just an animal, and he was just, and I don't know why. I mean, just maybe because he ended, his career was over in around 83, and 84, I think, he was kind of done winning and just fell behind, because anybody before, it seems like 84 or 5, they've forgotten about. I mean, even Mike Bell, who passed last week, that dominated on Supercross races. You had other guys that done a lot of stuff, and just don't get the recognition, maybe just because it is so long ago. But for some reason, my era and our era with RJ and Johnny, and maybe because we're still involved in the sport a lot, maybe that it still keeps it alive a little bit. But it just seems like for some reason their 80s right now are just still hanging on there. It's like, God, that was one of the best eras there was, and I don't know why, but for some reason that it's still hanging in there. Another 10 years from now, then maybe, I don't know. It just seems like the McGrath era, for that 10 years, it was just Jeremy. There was really, I don't even know who his rival was, because I don't think he had one. There was so a lot, which was great. I mean, it brought it to the level because there was somebody dominating, like Kobe Bryant or somebody that was winning so much. It brought the sport so much recognition to this guy's dominating the sport. But it didn't bring anybody else up. There was Ed Lusk, there, LaRocco. There was guys that were, they were good riders, but they just never got the championships, and never got, like, that was McGrath's rival. To our era, so many guys that could win championships, and it just seemed like there was so many of them. It just brought it kind of to a different level of notoriety. And looking back, you look back at McGrath's era, you don't pinpoint out many more riders, and then you move up to start listing off Reed and a bunch of other guys that were in there that could win races, and there was just so many guys in Mary's era. There wasn't those standout guys. It's forgotten a little bit, I think, the 90s, and skips right into the Carmichael and Stewart days, and we still hang in there more than Jeremy, I think, because of all the guys that won championships and kind of where the sport started and then got to before Jeremy took it over. So there's a lot of colorful guys back in our eras, even the
Yeah,
Bradshaws and
definitely.
Tasoviches and Cooper, and there's just a bunch. Just seemed like there was a giant handful of guys that really brought the level up. And Jeremy's era, it just didn't that many guys that brought it up to that level. He did on his own because of all his winning, but
Mm-hmm.
as a race fan, it was better when there is 6-7 guys that can win.
Yeah, for sure. Got an interesting one here. Gary David's put, if Jeff was going to have to pick a Motocross Donations team for the year for the US for this year, who would be on it?
This year, I mean, you'd have to have Stanton because Stanton rides. I don't know the age limit. I mean, what's the age limit for the guys now? Because we got old guys that are riding still. We could bring over Brayton. He's like 37 or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't, I don't know. The vet class over here is 30 plus, like our mammoth racing, and there's the 30. Well, there's 30 plus, the 40, but to be a vet, you have 30. So I don't know if that's still the. In that case, you could bring over some guys. We have a lot of guys that are over 30 that are still racing nationals, but depends what era, I guess. But Stanton, that I don't know who else is. Still really riding. If Bradshaw, he's still riding a lot. Bradshaw's pretty quick still, so he'd be a good one to bring. Even Ryan Hughes, he's still riding every day, so he's super fast. So that'd be a good team. But maybe I could go over and ride for Scotland. That'd be something different.
Yeah, that would. Yeah. Yeah, what is your actual thoughts about the fact that these guys, because obviously the Motocross Nations, even still now, it needs a Team USA, as it were, to make it a proper deal. Like you said, you sort of touched on it earlier. People have been talking about it, that they possibly might not, but I've heard in the grapevine that they might be actually bringing a team over this year, potentially. So it'd be a shame if they didn't.
I mean, I listened to a little bit of your Roger D's
Yeah, that's it.
Foster's
Yeah.
interview, and I know you talked to him about it. I actually went cycling with Roger about 3 weeks ago. We did like a 70-mile bicycle ride. I went with them, and
Wow.
so we talked about it then too. But like I said, different when because there was such in Europe and America, so it was like all we would hear is like, oh, they're better, and it's like we just had this thing of like, no, they're not. Let's go do it. Like that's what we wanted to do it. And nowadays, I don't think they have that feeling of like there's a competitive deal between the European riders or American riders. I just don't think they care. I just think they care about winning Supercross, and that's it. So when they did a year, nobody really wants to go. They do race a lot of races, but we did too. I mean, we still had 17 to 20 Supercrosses and 12 national Supercross races in Europe and Japan, and still did that race and didn't get paid. There's no money. So nowadays it just seems like, well, what's in it for me? I don't get paid. I don't bonuses. Managers are like, it doesn't do them any good for us selling them to a factory next year or a sponsor. It's just lost that oomph of competitiveness, as if we want to be the best country, or the best riders in the world. And I see their point. It's probably more difficult now because they put so much emphasis on Supercross. They don't get to ride outdoors until a week before the nationals, and guys over there, that's all they do. And, you're going into their sandbox and their tracks, and you don't ride. There's so many fast guys over there that, I can just see their point a little bit, but then again, that would make me even more passionate to go over there and show them. It's like, if we got whooped out much as we've had the last years, I'd be like putting a little more emphasis on, let's get our act together and let's go do this right. But it hasn't happened yet. And Roger knows more than anything. He's in there every weekend and week out, and I'm sure he's seen the side of the factory do it as much. There's just a lot of people that just don't have their heart in it. So it's really hard to get going. But I hope they do, because it's just a great event. I mean, for everybody, for the whole world to that. You know, yeah, it's about winning, but it's also always about that. It's about growing the sport. And America's not showing up at these events. It's only hurting the sport in general worldwide. So get out there and race your butt off. If you don't win, then you know you didn't win. You know, these guys can win. I mean, maybe we more competitive. When we raced, we had 3-4 of the best guys in the world on the same team. That was just plain and simple. You know, other teams had, they had their world championships, but their other two guys weren't as strong. You know, every guy on that could win a moto, but their other guys weren't strong. We just happened to have strong the whole team. Now we're even with now we have a guy that can win, but then the other two not the best. You know, the top guys, and kind of even now a little bit, but we should still, I think, be able to win it with the guys. Those countries, they don't all has been strong because they have three. They're like where we were. They have three guys at world championship calibers, you know, that are winning. So, but now I think it's just more even playing field, but I still believe our guys can win motos over there, and they just have to be consistent and put it all together in one day, and they just haven't done that for the last 4 or so years.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just going to answer this question for someone a minute, Jeff. We've had a few race fans that have come on that are deaf, and they like to listen to what's going on as well, so they can see the screen. Just to answer that, Jessica, if you go up into the top right-hand corner of the video, there's 3 white dots. You can click on that, and it gives you a chance to use subtitles as well. There you go. So hopefully that works out for you guys. I've got Lee Britton put, when you won your championships, did you celebrate with Glasgow tap water and Buckfast?
No, I didn't do that.
Someone else has mentioned David White put, did you ever race with Ron Sheen? Very fast rider back in the day. Yep, I'm sure he did.
Yeah, Ron Sheen was my teammate for about 5 years, probably 4 to 5 years. Yeah, like the donations when he'd go over there, he won both motos in France in '88 and was with I think in '89 or no '85 when he was on the factory Honda at Gildorf too in the donations and killed it there. Won Supercross. Yeah, he was just a natural. He was definitely wasn't the guy that trained the hardest. He rode a lot, had a lot of talent, but just a fun guy. Yeah, he was probably one of the. I thought I was pretty good, but he could ride that bike faster than anybody. It was just a hard bike to ride for 35 minutes that fast. So I kind of over prevailed a little bit in my training, but he was probably one of the best 500 riders there were in the world.
You obviously got into the Supermoto as well. Did you really enjoy that? You obviously won a couple of titles well into your 40s, wasn't it? And I think the last one might have been about 47 when you won the X Games as well. Amazing.
I mean, when I got done with the car racing, Supermoto started up, and I just really well. I mean, I adapted to it, and I never did any road racing motorcycle stuff on pavement, so I didn't really know how slicks worked that well on pavement, and definitely don't know how well slicks work on the dirt. I mean, it's just some slicks on it. You have to learn that too. So it's a motorcycle, and you got no grip. You have to learn to get grip. So I got to race against guys that, you know, like McGrath and Pastrana and Reed and Wyndham and guys, you know, everybody else that came into the X Games, you know, to win the X game, and I would have never got a motorcycle anywhere else but that, and you know, I beat them all, you know, and so it just shows that, you know, even though I was a different era in the '80s, I'm racing guys that are, you know, my teammate at the time was years old when I was 47, so you know, and I beat him, you know, so I'm beating these guys from you know, you know, that's all they did moto. So
that was very good.
Just that the guys back in the 80s can ride a motorcycle. I mean, I raced against Stuart, James on the supermoto, and out-qualified him, on a supermoto bike. And to me, he's one of the fastest riders in the world on a motorcycle, and it is just a motorcycle with slicks. And people were saying, well, you ride it more. And I'm like, well, I don't know how well, when I come off of pavement, off onto pavement, how much traction I'm going to get with this slick. I have to adapt to what it gives me. It's not like what it's going to do. So my talent is what's getting me the traction and getting me the speed. And I was able to, out-qualify James at 4 years old when he was still racing Supercross. So I'm like, what? The 80s could ride motorcycles. It's like, so when they always compare the era of like, I was the best, he was the best, and would you have beaten Carmichael? And I always have to say, yeah, I believe I would beat Carmichael, because I know my ability. I know how far I can push a bike to the limit. I know the kind of shape I was in. So I'd have to say yes. Or McGrath. And just going out there, which I was on a motorcycle like that for an hour race too. I had a pit stop and everything. It wasn't like it was a sprint race. I had to be in shape too to do. Just shows that we could ride cycles back in the 80s pretty good. So that's what sure. I enjoy. That's what I enjoyed. With that race is racing against Chad Reed. He's still racing Supercross and winning races on Yamaha, and I'm beating him on a supermoto bike on with Supercross jumps on slicks and on pavement. On a bike that he's racing next week, the same bike. So it was pretty gratifying to be competitive like that, and win the gold at 80 or 47 years old.
Amazing. That is some achievement, that is, as well, after all the achievements you've already had. Did you have many big injuries, Jeff, over your career that sort of affected any of your championships that you could possibly have won more, or is there anything like that? Any major injuries that was all pain?
I could have won more, but then RJ got hurt a few times too when it looked like he may have had something sewn up. So it kind of went back and forth a little bit. The year I won the 87 Supercross, I broke my ankle at the third round during the race, and I got third, but then I went to the doctor and I broke my ankle in half at the bone, and I was going to have surgery on it, but I had to race Miami the next week and then Daytona with an ankle. So I had to race those two races, and then I had surgery with a screwed and pinned back in. And then I had a weekend off before Hangtown, the first national, and then they drilled it, bone shattered. So they had to take all the bone out and patch it up. And so then I raced the national the next week, 2 weeks later, and got second. And I was kind of struggling the Supercross, and because they had the series was like all year, it didn't go like in a row. It had nationals in between.
Yeah.
So it got healed a little bit, but I was behind in points because of my broken ankle. But then Ricky got hurt, and so I won the championship, with that bad ankle. And the next year I was leading the Supercross series, and I aced a jump, and I took my foot off my bad ankle, and I dislocated my good ankle. So then Ricky got the championship when I should have had it. So it was little things like that where, I'd break a wrist, but I'd keep racing and I wouldn't win. I'd get third or fourth. I'd lose points. And, but nothing, I tore my knee ligament in 84 when I won the 125 championship. I still raced with it and drained it and got a knee brace put on. One of those knee braces, the CTI, which is Innovation Sports. And now it's, I don't even know the name of the brace. Ask the name of the braces now. So I wore one of the first knee braces that Jim Castillo made back then, and I only wore one my whole career. I never put it on my other side. I just wore one. So I had injury, broken tailbone stuff, but I just kept racing the next weekend. Suffer just through.
Push through. Yeah.
Place and and then hopefully, and then a couple of those times that I suffered through it, I won a championship because of it, because somebody else got injured too, so I could have easily took 2 Supercrosses off to get my ankle screwed and fixed, but I'm like, what's the best thing to do now? When I broke, and that's, that is screwed right now, and try to race with the screw in it. And they felt it was better just to keep going without the screw and doing the surgery. And then when we did the surgery, it even got screwed up more. But so, it was just decisions like that of what the best way seems to be now, like, they just don't show up, for the next race and get fixed. And I was always, maybe if you're in the championship, you do it, and if you're not, it's not worth it. But I was always in the championship hunt, so I felt like I always had to show up with whatever was brought. No major femurs or tipping anything separate, elbow, stuff like that, but nothing super major. So I was pretty lucky.
Proper gladiators back then as well. Has to be said.
Yeah, it was kind of challenging and fun, but we didn't have the therapy stuff that they have now. I think if we had a lot of the stuff that they have at this therapy place, I mean, we had ultrasound and stuff, and of course I did that the day after I broke it. I stayed in the doctor's office up in Pasadena Sunday night till Friday morning until I flew to the next race. I never left. I brought ice chest, I brought clothes, and I stayed in the hospital overnight at the doctor's office when they went home, and did the machines in the room by myself all night long until they came home back in the next morning. So I just stayed there for a week and then went to the next race and then came right back there and stayed there another week. So it was like, I didn't do anything but just do therapy to get the swelling out of my ankle so I could put it in the, so yeah, it wasn't fun at all, but maybe nowadays, maybe there's better stuff, or at least maybe you could take it home. I couldn't even take stuff home. I had to go to the doctors and stay there. So yeah, things would be a little easier with the technology they have for injuries and things like that. But or maybe it was better, or not as legal as they were now. Who knows what the shots they were giving you to take the pain away back then. I have no idea. It was just give me a shot. So probably get who knows what, all the testing.
A lot of the guys are saying about Alan Rossiter here. He's a Speedway rider in the UK, and he's now a team manager. He put Manny's the real deal. It's nice. And then I got Claudio here from Italy. He put that was my point the other night. Good old day riders were the real gladiators, big hearts, and now too many excuses.
Yeah, I mean it's different eras. You look at football, our football. So the guys had leather helmets on, and no knee brace. You could just see blood coming out of their face, and they didn't know any different. Nowadays, they just have better protection, and they're probably getting hit harder, but you got better protection, and maybe maybe it looks like the guys are tough. I mean, a lot of guys, Chad Reed, and I mean they rode with stuff that was separated shoulder, and then the next week and they're showing up and finishing the race. It's like, how do like I said, I think the therapy and the technology is way more than what we had. But these guys are tough. It's just some of the guys that if they're not in the hunt for the championship, and they always look at the overall big picture, what I'm going to be like when I'm. There's a lot more things that come into it. To where it seems like back then I didn't think one iota what I was going to do after racing. It's just I just wanted to race, so I had to be at every race, and a little bit maybe different mentality. I don't know, maybe the money's more, so it's like I don't get paid any different anyway or something. And to where maybe if you just race for bonuses, you'd have to be there. I don't know. So there's just different theories but we had some tough guys, and there's tough guys racing today too. And there always has been tough guys, because motocross is not for the weak of heart. If you race across at the top level, let me tell you, Broxton's probably hurt right now. You don't even know it, and he's winning. So you don't race a Supercross for weeks in a row and not hurt something.
Have some niggles. Have some niggles.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Mr. Stuart Edmonds here is pretty much asking you, did you have any regrets in your career at all?
Not really. I mean, I'm pretty happy with what pushed. I mean, yeah, you look.
I think I've just lost you there a minute. We just lost you there, Jeff. Lost Jeff there a minute. Just frozen on us. I think we've done well, considering he didn't have the connection wasn't going very well, and I think we can pretty much hear everything that's been said tonight, so that's good. Let's just see what's happening here. Just try and see if he's gonna. Oh, he's gone off the screen a minute, so we'll have to see if he's completely gone there. I'm not sure what happened there. Don't know if he's going to come back in the bottom there. Thank you very much all for your questions. I think I wrote down about 30 odd here. I think I got down 32 questions, and I've only got to about 10 on it. So you guys have had plenty of good questions. While Jeff's just off, we'll see if he can come back on in the next couple of minutes. Just want to say on the full Hurlings gear, we've only got 16 tickets left now, so there's literally only a few now. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. There it is, look. The shirt signed on the back there, look, on the Netherlands flag on the number. It's Jeffrey Hurling's full worn race kit. And then you've got the bottoms here with a really cool butt patch. Into the Lion's Den. This full thing, you can see it was slightly worn, as you can see a slight burn there on the inside of the leg. I also want to say thank you very much to Mr. Tom Brown from Motor Extreme as well, down there in Marshfield. I don't know if any of you guys can see over there, look at the back of me, the Oxbow Tortelli shirts. He's literally given me about 7 or 8 of Tortelli's race shirts over his career, including the bottoms as well, that I'll show to Sebastian next Thursday night when I do that. So I really appreciate that from Tom Brown from Moto Extreme and Moto Park 46. Top man for allowing me to use that. And he also gave me the behind me, because I'm due to hopefully get to speak to Zach Osborne soon as well. And so hopefully that's why I got those. So thanks very much for that, Tom Brown. Oh, looks like Jeff could be back here, hopefully. Jeff.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. My phone glitched. It just like went black for some reason. So we're good now.
Yeah, we're all good. We're all good. Thank you very much for coming back on. I was just catching the guys up with a few little things. Is there any other sports that you like watching, Jeff? Any of you like watching at all? And we know you like the cycling, but
Soccer. Big soccer fan, football fan.
Right.
My daughter has played soccer since she was 6. Plays club. She got a soccer scholarship in college. It's her last year this year. They've been to like the NCAA top 4. She's played soccer since she was a kid. I played soccer as a youth for about 8 years. My dad coached soccer here in the United States, my soccer team. So I played soccer my whole career as I was racing motorcycles. So it's always been a big soccer fan. My dad actually played some pro football over in Glasgow for the Rangers. So Scotland Rangers. So soccer's been a big thing. So my wife is a fanatic. She's a big Barcelona fan. Messi. Well, really back when Iniesta and all the kind of teams broken up now. It's totally a whole different team. And but 10 years ago, and it was just like the mega power of soccer. And so yeah, soccer is probably my next sport that I really enjoy watching.
So it's definitely Rangers then, because I just see, as soon as you mentioned soccer, a few guys come up on the screen there saying Rangers or Celtic.
Yeah, I think it was the Rangers. I mean, he also raced bicycles. He did the Tour de France.
Right.
And then he played pro hockey, I think.
Wow.
So my dad was real athletic.
Yeah.
He was nobody that was like, great, but he was still good enough to be a pro. So, so that's where I think I got, and then when he moved to the States, he was riding motorcycles over there as well. And then trials was like big in Scotland at the time, in the 60s. And, I don't know if he rode over there or not. And that's why he rode trials when he got here. who he got connected with. But so yeah, he was a real big athlete. But soccer's always been the big sport. It's not that big here in the States, unfortunately. I mean, yeah, we have our pro leagues, but you wouldn't even know it, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
so we're lucky we got the stations from Europe and stuff that play all the Premier League and all the other leagues.
Do you guys follow any of the English teams?
Yeah, like Liverpool. Some of the other, and I know there's an American player on the teams now that I've kind of followed a little bit. That came from over here, but yeah, I mean, I follow the Premier League, so Chelsea and stuff, and there's always one or two big players that on there, and unless you watch it week in and week out. And there's a couple of some really good documentaries on TV that Sutherland, I think it is.
Sunderland.
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 Yeah, they have a
Yeah.
documentary.
I watched that as well. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it's super cool. You just
It's very
learn
good.
the ins and outs a little bit more about soccer, and how the club works, and the changing of players and things that you really wouldn't think about or know about in sports, and same like with Formula One. When you watch the Formula One documentary and on the season 18 and 19 when the COVID was going down, I think watched everything there was to watch on TV. But yeah, so I follow. Yeah, we follow it just through the games that come on here on. I think we have BN Sports or something that has all the European soccer stuff on it. So we enjoy watching them. Yeah.
Who are your closest sort of friends around the pits and the paddock? And then in your days, Jeff, did you closer to some of the riders, have great friends in the racing?
As a racer, when I was racing, it would be probably more my teammates, like Matasevich at the time, and before that, Go Brecker and guys that were, the Sheen, just guys that were on my team because we traveled and tested, but I didn't hang out with them. I mean, I went to the track, I saw them at the track, and then I'd go home. I was pretty much a loner on myself of training. I mean, I do my own training in the gym with my trainer. I do my own cycling. I had some cycling buddies. I'd meet up and do the training rides and stuff, but pretty much, I did everything on my own. I was able to push myself and want to be better, and ran on stopwatch. I ran, everything was calculated on what I needed to do. And then, at the racetracks, I'd enjoy being with my mechanic and, team manager. I'd see him and the dinners with, really no other riders on the other teams, just because we were doing our own deal. And, but we'd usually always be at the same hotel when we stayed. But, so yeah, no, but nowadays it's still kind of the same people that have been around when I was racing. Some of them are just a lot older. I mean, there's Roger and team managers and stuff like Bevo, or he's still there, and there's still guys that were there when I was racing. But then there's some younger guys that are in the Kawasaki, Kurt Rood, and guys that followed me as a kid. They were just a kid when I was racing, and now they're up, in the top kind of helping run Kawasaki. So, and their dads were big fans of mine. So they're really cool to me. I still get bikes from Cowie and out the back door, and he helps me with anything I want or need. And they've always helped my kids out. If they were racing a little bit, we'd get some bikes and parts. And so Kawasaki's always been, pretty good to me. And so, yeah, but other than that, it's, I'm still feel like my closest friend. Well, Troy Lee, he's been since 1982 when he started doing my helmets. We've been best friends. We've been together and done everything. He's the one that helped me go IndyCar racing with sponsorships, and now mountain bike stuff. He helps. So he's been one of my longest friends that I've known, and to the day we still do stuff together and race Mammoth, and our kids live together. His son Max and my son live in the same house. So we're super close. But then other than that, like RJ and Osho and Bailey and Mickey Diamond, I just talked to him yesterday, and so when we see each other, it's like we're family because we did so much together. We have so much in common of our lifestyles and what we did. It's just like we never left. So it's pretty cool that the motor. And even when I go to Europe and you see it's a small family. The motocross community is small, and so when you go back and you go to these places that you used to go to and see the people. It's like you never left, really. It's still like they're the same people. So that's really cool.
Yeah, very cool. You were inducted into the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame in '99, I believe, and also the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America in 2006. That must have felt quite proud moment, special for you to do that.
Yeah, the motorcycle one. To give me, the automotive.
No, we've lost him. Damn. Don't know what's happened there. Lost just Jeff for a minute. Very sneaky that is, Andy. You have done a yellow bike and a red one and a blue one. Green must be soon. Little bugger you are. Looks like Jeff's just jumped off on his internet there. To be fair, considering it was massively problem, trust me, before we started the interview, the internet was. Hopefully Jeff's going to come back on there. He's trying to come back in. Oh, here we go. Jeff, we back?
My phone rang and it cut off.
Oh, right. Okay.
What was the
right.
question?
I've got. Yes, actually. Oh, yeah. It was about the Hall of Fame and everything, and your thoughts on obviously being proud and.
What was it? It broke up.
Sorry, about getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, the motorcycle one, and obviously the motorsports as well. Motorsports,
Yeah. The motorcycle one was kind of a gimmick, because of what I'd accomplished. So I was expecting that, but then the Motorsports Hall of Fame one was something that I didn't know they did motorcycle riders too. I mean, Hannah's in there. I think Roger maybe. There's I think Ricky or RA just got put in. So there's been other guys. There's others in there. I think like Hannah was before me. So I didn't know they just took also. I mean, because it says automotive. Or it's motorsports, basically what it is. It's not automotive, it's motorsports. So that includes motorcycling. They expect to get in there. I thought it was more of for car racing, but then I did do the cars for, how many years and won a race and, Texas and got second at Indy, third, fourth, was on the podium a lot and poles, so I was competitive in the Indy cars and with the trucks and rally, so everything else that was involved, I guess that was enough to push over to get me in there. So it was pretty cool. Nigel Mansell was inducted the same night.
nice.
I don't know who else. I can't remember. So that was cool. Yeah. And, but yeah, big honor. I mean, to make it into there is a pretty big deal. So, to be in both of them is pretty cool. Ask for more.
Yeah, amazing. Were there any riders, Jeff, during your career that you didn't sort of get on with too well, that you didn't particularly like racing against them? Was there any guys that you didn't enjoy racing with?
The motocross, no, not too many. I mean, there wasn't really anybody that I disliked racing. When later in my career, when well, there was a couple like racing against like Magoo, Chandler, Danny Magoo. There was just guys like that you just had no clue of what they were going to do. I mean, that guy asked you upside down if he could, so there was just guys like that they weren't out to get you. You just didn't know what they were out to do. It was just, Guy Cooper was a guy like that. I mean, there was just no off switch on those guys. So it was just nerve wracking sometimes when off the game. They were next to you, feet further and higher and not shut off for stuff. And so it was just a little bit nerve wracking more than anything. And then, once you got up to like Bradshaw, Matasevich, kind of the younger Supercross guys coming into the Supercross, then it got, there's a little bit more aggressiveness start going on than there was with our guys. So we just had to step up our game of, kind of getting into that, that ball game of, not just making a pass anymore. It's about hitting them now when you make the pass. So to slow them up. So we had to start doing that a little bit. And, but there wasn't really nobody I disliked. Like I was ever out to. There were guys I didn't like winning, you know, more than I disliked him as a rider. It was like, you know, you just hated RJ when he won because he was so flamboyant and he rubbed it in hard, you know, and just made you want to beat him more the next week because he was just that he loved the limelight, you know, that was him, you know, and so for myself and like Osho, we just did the work and won the race and thanked our sponsors, and we were boring. We were, you know, and maybe I think that bugged him too because it, you know, maybe it didn't look like we appreciated beating them as much as we should have or something, and that fueled his fire. So, but yeah, no, I was always pretty. I can't look back and say anything bad about anybody that they did me, you know, really wrong or something during races or my career. So,
that was good.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. Kevin Wheeler's put, you and Jeff Stanton were also big rivals who both trained on their own. I remember you both splitting motos all the time as well. How did you both get on around the track?
Jeff and I really loved it. I had Jeff would come over to my house a few times when, you know, the season, and we were fierce on the track, but he's a good guy. He's a farmer home, you know, from Michigan, down to earth guy, but just, yeah, he didn't like you at the track, you know. I mean, he was there to beat you, but when it was over, you know, you could go eat dinner with him, you know. So that's what he's still at to the day. He's still like a intense guy on thing, and then, you know, then he's, when you're around him and as a friend, he's just, you know, he's a super good guy. But we did have, yeah, we went back and forth motos, championships. I'd lose a Supercross, or same thing like when before Ricky got hurt. Ricky was just in his prime when he hurt his wrist, and then Stanton kind of took over. So it became me fighting Ricky. Now I'm fighting Stanton, and then he won the Supercrosses, and then I'd win an outdoor, and then he beat me the next year by 6-7 points something at the last race. I crashed, so I had a good rivalry with him. He was more of a, you know, kind of a mad dog type guy, you know, bulldog type rider, nothing real smooth, kind of like RJ in a way. So it just kind of, he took over RJ's position there for a couple of years in the 500 class, especially. That was my competition in that. And luckily I beat him out on those ones, but he beat me out in the 250. So it's, but no, he's one of the super cool guys in the sport. So it was cool to have, you know, like I said, I didn't have any really big beefs with anybody, but, you know, trust me, none of those guys liked me when we were racing. You know, I didn't like them either. It's just the way you had to be, you know. So, but once the racing was over, we respected one another. We knew how hard we worked. We had injuries. So it wasn't like we kicked the dog when they were down or something. You know, like we respected each other, and it was a cool time. I really enjoyed it. I'm not involved too much with like the guys nowadays, and I mean they seem pretty cool because I see Roxon and, you know, and Brayton, but then Brayton isn't a threat to Roxon. You know, there's a lot of friendships that go on and within the teams and stuff. But really, when it gets down to when they're on the line, nobody's a friend. You know, I mean, they want to win as bad as anybody, but it's just off the track. It just depends on, you know, who your teammates are usually and the competition. I find it interesting, you know, back when Villapoto was training with like Dungy and, you know, at the same place. And I was just like, man, that would not work in my time. I know that, you know, I know Alden's a good trainer and, you know, but I think I can figure it out by myself, but I'm not showing that guy what I'm doing. You know, I'm not showing him when I'm tired. I'm not showing him if I got a ingrown toenail. I'm not showing him anything. So it just seemed weird to me that they could do that and then go race on the weekend and have that fire of like, you know, if I was with him all week, I'd know what he had. You know, I didn't want that. Whether I was faster or not, I didn't want to know, you know, until I got there, because circumstances always come into play. And if I was at the track with RJ and he's riding better than me that week for some reason, I'm going into the race not feeling very good. But if I don't know it, I'm going in still that I'm going to beat this guy, and I may beat him because of the problem, but I may not have if I thought, oh, he's got me handled already. So I just don't, you know, it's like boxing with the boxing partner you're going to fight on the weekend and you're practicing with him during the week. I just don't know how you get the upper hand on the guy when you know where he's at. So that's the difference about it now. Maybe, you know, so nobody would ever train together unless you were a teammate, you know, and But if the teammate was a big threat, then no, you're not going to be riding with your teammate.
Yeah, that was very interesting as well. Because when I spoke to Jeff Stanton as well, he sort of said the same thing. He didn't like how they all sort of mix in a lot now, doing that sort of thing. He definitely wouldn't have done that.
No, I don't see how you can. I mean, it's like,
Mm,
it just, for me, it didn't make sense. I know you want to get in
mm,
shape, but if you're doing the same thing as your best competitor is, I don't know where the advantage is coming from. Somebody's going to is going to be on the weak side, whether they're tired that week or they're just not as strong as that guy. And if you find that out, boy, you're in trouble. You got to assume you're stronger than the guy, even if mentally you can push through some stuff when it gets super hot because of your mental. But if you're already broken down, knowing, thinking that guy's already stronger than you, then it ain't happening. It's just not working. So, I mean, it's different theories, but I see if you're a young kid coming up, man, yeah, I'd be there because I'd want to ride with the fastest guys. But once you got to that level of being the
yeah.
championship guy, and they have 4 of them there, I don't know how that worked, but they seem to still make it happen.
And I know Jeff Stanton does watch some of these and everything. I just want to say a big thank you to him as well for he's amazing to be able to speak to him, and he put me in touch with yourself, which is amazing to
Yeah,
get to speak to another massive legend. I
yeah,
really appreciate that.
well, cool.
That was
Yeah, he's a
great.
good
That was
guy,
great.
man.
Great. Yeah, amazing. Kevin's also put, can you walk us through your big off at Bercy when you jumped off the bike? Don't know if you remember that. Or...
Yeah, Redbud, is that what I think they were talking
Oh,
about
he said no.
on
He
the
said
500?
a big off. He said a big off at Bercy. So I think he means the Bercy Supercross.
Oh yeah,
Did you have a?
I did eject. Yeah, I like kind of went out cross rutted, flew to the right, and then had to jump and land on the other side of the track, like on the downside of a jump, but the bike's coming the other way. I think so. It was scary, but I didn't get hurt because I landed like perfectly on a downside, on some tough blocks or hay bales or whatever, super smooth. But yeah, I just cross rutted and ejected, because I was not going to land on the track, so I had to, jump off through the bike and. Yeah, it was. I didn't get hurt, which was great. But I remember it. It was pretty scary. But those tracks in Bercy, I mean, they're like, there's no middle lane. You're going down one side and turn and come back, and you're pretty much using almost the same jump as the jump going the other way. So it was just a scary moment. I remember it.
I'll ask you a couple more. Really appreciate your time. It's been amazing to speak. If you could give any advice to wants to go pro motocross, pro supercross, Jeff, what would your advice be to them young guys?
I mean, at the beginning when you're, younger, it's got to be fun. I know some of these kids now over here are such in a regiment. They're at camps for a month, for 3-4 months a year, just riding. And I see the point, but it just seems like there's a burnout, doing that
Mm,
much. It's got to be kind of fun and
mm,
with the family's fun, but I don't think putting the emphasis on having to win everything because you change so much. I mean, when kids are fast, they're fast if they're fast. If they're not,
mm,
maybe when they get 13, 14 and grow a little bit, then all of a sudden it comes in. But when they're in their 7, 8, 9, you can tell kids that are just, they're going somewhere. So to really put them through the ringer of having to be at every national, and I think it's tough on them, and only a few make it, but it's just hard to say. I mean, you just have to get with a good program. You always want to ride with somebody that's faster than you are. That's a big deal because if you're the fastest guy, then you're only helping them. So I see how you got to move around. And Southern California, where I'm at, there's pretty much the fastest guys that that show up on the local tracks, so you can ride with them. And it's just it's a hard deal. It's like any sport. I mean, it's like being a golfer. You don't know if you're going to make it. You just play the golf game because you love it and you try to do the best you can.
mm,
But you got to have fun at it too as a young age. If you're not having fun, then by the time you get old and things start getting hard, then you just see people walk away just because how much struggle it was to get there. And I think you're going to get there anyway, either way. Whether I mean, I help some kids out that they're not the best right now and they're learning. They're going to improve. And who's to say that when they get 13 or 14, it just doesn't click and they become as fast as anybody there is out there. And you see it in skateboarding. You see these young kids and you're like, the kid's going somewhere when he's 4 years old, dropping in off ramps into pools, you know, and then you got another 4-year-old kid who can, you know, barely push it down the driveway. So there's always going to be that type of athlete in every type of extreme sport that just have it from the beginning. And it's not because the parents pushing them into it. It's just because he's got the talent. And it's just giving them the opportunity probably, and enjoying it is the biggest thing to get to the level where you know if you're going to make it or not. Otherwise, it just kind of be miserable as a kid growing up, just being pressured and then not make it. That kind of ruins the whole
it seems to happen a lot.
Because you can ride your motorcycle your whole life. My kids did everything. They went to Loretta's. They did all that. They did, they didn't make it, but you know what? They're great motorcycle riders, and they have a great time racing on the weekend, and they're fast. They can win races. They just didn't have kind of what it took, or it just didn't click at the right time. And my one son's just probably too small weight-wise to handle a 250F. He rides 250B. He went to Loretta's, and my other kid was top 10 in Super Mini back when Tomac and Baggett, and he was top 10 at Loretta's, and the big bikes just didn't work for him. And so you just don't know. But we had fun, as a family going to these races. I never put pressure on them, and if I did, the outcome wouldn't have been any different. They might have got hurt more. That's about it. But because I would have pushed them into stuff they weren't ready to do. But it just, RJ's son was the same way. He rode. It just did. He took him to the races, did everything you needed to do, and it just didn't happen. And then you got people that don't even know motocross. Their family has never rode a bike in their life, and their kids like phenomenon. So it's not the fact that just because I rode, I can make somebody be good. It's just you get the genes, and you just give them the opportunity. And if they're good, they'll get better. And if they make it, they make it. But it's just it's a hard process. Motocross is a hard game, and it's it's expensive too in a way. And there's injuries, and nobody likes seeing their kids get hurt. So
no, for sure.
It's a rough sport. That's why I loved soccer, because I just had to bring my chair to the field and sit down. I didn't have to work on eight bikes and drive across country and go to races and go to the hospital every other week. And golf and soccer sound really good. So
really easy.
But as an athlete, there's nothing more satisfying than be able to ride a motorcycle like to its ability, like any extreme athlete doing flips or whatever. And when you're in that realm and can ride a bike to its ability, it's hard to beat. And that's the adrenaline that keeps people going, is that feeling. It's like golfing. You hit that one good golf shot, you're like, yes, I want to do another one. And then you do 10 terrible ones, then you want to quit. So it's like the same thing with the motorcycle racing. You're like struggling, and then you have that one good race and you feel like it, and there's the motivation again. So it's just unfortunate. There's a lot of injuries in the sport.
I see a nice one. I've just got a legend Speedway rider, Mr. Dennis Sagalos, has just come on. He's put, "Hey Wardy, great to see you on the show. You're the man. Motorcycles and cars. What a career you had, champ. See you around, man. All the best."
Yeah, cool. Yeah, Dennis, I know him. I mean, with Penhall, they used to race off-road boats together, and being from Southern California. Yeah, so that's super cool. Big fan of his too. That's cool. I mean, I was a big Speedway fan. I grew up on Speedway. So 5 miles from my house here, the Orange County Fairgrounds, race Speedway every Saturday night down there with Bill Cody, Mike Bass, all the guys back, Sagalos, him, I think Bruce came out there when he came back from Europe. So I was always there watching, and I used to race intermission there all the time with Gene Woods and his dad, Rick Woods. I think he just got nominated to the Hall of Fame or something, Speedway. I think Rick Woods did. So yeah, I was a big Speedway fan, still am to the day. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking to have a one-on-one with Dennis. He come on the other day when I had Bruce Pennell and Eric Gunderson together. It was really cool, and Dennis dropped into the office, so that was really nice. So yeah, we've got a lot of good, cool Speedway ones on as well. Kevin Wheeler just put, if Lee and I book a Jeff Stanton's adventure, will you come and join us?
What's this? Oh, if Lee and
it's Jeff's new.
Yeah. That's his adventures. Yeah, I talked to him about it when he called me last week, and with Triumph, I believe they're doing it.
That's
with.
it. Yeah.
I told him, I said, when it warms up there in Detroit, I said, if you got an extra bike or something, and let me know, I'll pop in and a tour with them. They did.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yep. So that's a possible as well there. Look, Kevin, book that in and try and get Mr. Ward there as well. Imagine that, being with Jeff Ward and Jeff Stanton together. Wow.
Yeah,
That'd be some little tour, that would
that'd
be.
be fun.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
That'd
I
be
really
cool.
appreciate
Really
your
cool.
time, Jeff. Absolutely amazing to get to meet you and speak to you. I really appreciate you answering my messages and everything. It's been amazing to get to even speak to you. It's an absolute honor for sure.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, anytime you want something, let me just text me or whatever, and I'll help out and whatever you got to do. And if you do come on over to Jeff's deal, let me know the date, and we're all correspond with Jeff or something, just so we get a lot of guys that kind of wanted to come and we know each other, and it'd be super cool than just doing it with randoms that showed up. So I'm sure
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I'm sure he can work that out. There's a lot of guys that I'm
Yeah.
sure that come up there and love to ride with them.
100%, mate. That'd be amazing. Hopefully, I'll maybe speak to you about a couple of contacts or something. So maybe some riders you might know that can help me out. Hopefully, that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
Right, really appreciate it, Jeff.
Perfect.
Amazing. Thank you ever so much. Take it easy, and I will share out I'll send you the link for it tomorrow, and then you can share it or whatever on your social medias or something. That'd be cool. Yeah. Thanks ever so much.
Perfect.
Much appreciated.
Sorry about all the connection stuff, but I think it worked out okay.
Yeah, it worked out fine.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks ever so much, Jeff. I'll speak to you soon. I'll keep in contact anyway. Thanks ever so much.
Thank you.
Top man, thank you.
Okay, cheers.
Absolute honor. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.
Wow. Jeff Ward, how cool. Mr. Ward, how cool is that? Flipping out, Kev. You're getting us like... We're organising to have a ride with Jeff Stanton and Jeff Ward now. Oh, you're killing me. Sounds like Jeff Ward's bang up for it as well. Wow. Thanks for coming on, Dennis, as well. So Mr. Cigalos, we'll have to do our one-on-one. We've had a couple of little chats. Obviously, the Boxing Day one, and you come on briefly in the to speak to Eric. But I think we'll have a great chat. We do a one-on-one, Mr. Dennis Cigalos. That'd be really cool. Thanks for everyone coming on tonight. We managed to get through them little difficulties of contacts in the end, and a couple of little things with Jeff's internet thing there. But I think we pretty much heard it all. I hope you heard it all. I'm pretty sure it was okay. So yeah, I just wanted to get a few things. Sorry, I missed that last one, Dennis, before you went. Thank you very much, Darren. I will catch up with all my Facebook messages. I can see some of you have been messaging me, but obviously I'm looking at my phone with some of my, I don't know if you can see that, but I've got some of my questions in front of me as well. So it's difficult to do that and look at your comments and do that as well. So I will catch up with you all with your messages after. So no problem. I'll get back to you guys. Cool guy. Great one, Lee. Thanks very much, Gary. Andrew, fantastic interview, Lee. Brilliant to hear from another legend of the greatest era. Keep up the good work, Lee. Keep it up. Jeff Ward, yeah, amazing. Jeff Ward, unreal. Let's go, mate. It's happening. We'll have to book that boat. Yes, Kev, let's book that boat. That'll be amazing. I'm up for a boat trip, Kev. Oh, we're not talking about a pedalo here, are we? Because you'll have to do the pedaling. Oh, but imagine that, Jeff Stanton and Jeff Ward. It sounds like Jeff's be cool to have a go over there as well. And if anyone doesn't know, I've mentioned about the Jeff Stanton New Adventures. You can see that online in Michigan. He's going to be doing tours and all that all through the countryside, and you can do fishing, you can do all sorts. That sounds amazing. And he's doing it in small groups of only like 5 or 6, so it's very personal. He said about things like round a campfire, discussing old stories of race days and all that. Can you imagine? It would be off the head. Claudio, top man. Wardy, thanks for your memory. Top man, awesome interview, Lee. Thanks very much. Thanks, people. See all your nice words about Mr. Ward. Cheers, Richard. Hope you're good, mate. Best yet, Lee. Hero of mine since I was a kid. Top guy. Heard you got all the JT kit then. I think someone said that you got all the JT kit then, have you, Scott? You have to get the pictures out of that. Everyone loves the JT kit. Bad, good. I haven't seen you in a long time. Wardy, what a legend. Gutted only caught the end, but we'll catch it later. Yep. Any of these lives are always recorded, guys, and I share it out the next day. You can go onto the YouTube channel, and I think they are. I know they do, actually. Sorry. The actual interviews stay on the Facebook, I think, for a day or two anyway, until they sort of shut down. But then it's always on my YouTube anyway, so none of them go missing. So I'll just catch up on a couple of little things. As I said, on the full Jeffrey Hurlins kit, multi-world champion Mr. Hurlins, I've only got 16 tickets left. I don't know if anyone's messaged me while I've been online, but hopefully you have. Looking to try and get, there's only 16 tickets left. So hopefully we'll get that done and hopefully get a live draw would be cool over the weekend, mate. Possibly Saturday night, Sunday night, possibly. If that we can get that gone. I have got the next bike, which is amazing for the next competition that we got. See Andy sneakily suggesting a colour, saying that we did a Suzuki. I didn't actually think about it like that as well. We obviously did the Suzuki Pastrana. I think I got the bikes on here, and I did. Obviously, there's a win alert there with the Pastrana bike. We did the Puerto Rico MX Donations Pastrana replica. And then obviously you guys know we did the Rob Herring, his actual bike that he did himself, the winner there, look. And then we obviously did the brand new two-stroke 221 that Mr. Ben Clements won there. And we will be sticking with the Evos from now on anyway. It was just a one-off to get a new one there. So, yeah, we'll see. I'll put up the pictures and everything and announce it all once we've sorted out the Hurlins full kit and someone's won that and get that off. And then we'll so hopefully in the next day or two, be really cool if we could do the live draw over the weekend sometime and then launch the bike. That would be amazing. And trust me, when you see the bike, wow. All I can say, all I'll give a hint for. Wow, it's not even a hint really, but when I was racing in schoolboys and that on the 125s, my life was a 125 two-strokes. A few of you know. This would have been my dream bike. So to even get to touch it for a little bit, it will be good. And start it. Show you guys it's sounds sweet for sure. Started it when we picked it up today. Really cool. Leon Day, BSMA legend. How's it going, Leon? Heard you all met when we was having a chat. You're saying you're getting bit fitter and looking to come back on a bike, so that's all cool. Legend, my hero, and followed him every race I could. Awesome. Mr. Stuart Hare, awesome. Jeff Green God, top Wortley, thanks mate. Yes, he was. And as when people first come into the interview, everyone was saying about like people got Kawasaki's on the basis that Jeff Ward had one, and he was the icon of Kawasaki for sure. Lee's put Stefan Everett's 450 with the white tyres. Yeah, I remember that. That was pretty mad, wasn't it? I think he did that, didn't he, right at the end of his career? I'm not sure why he did that. So yeah, only 16 tickets left then on the full kit. So if anyone wants to message me about the full kit, I've got all the numbers in front of me here. So if anyone wants to know what the numbers are, just quickly read them off. I don't mind doing that. Tickets left are number 25, number 38, number 41, number 46, number 52, number 55, number 60, number 65, number 81, number 85, 87, 92, 95, 97 and 100. So that's the ticket numbers left on the full Jeffrey Hurlins kit. Obviously, I mentioned the new bike will be announced and shown as soon as that's done. So fingers crossed, over the weekend we can do the live draw for the kit. Hopefully get Jeff Stanton come in again and start mentioning about sending me a replica helmet of his. I'll still not go over that one. My next interviews, yes, Monday night. So I should be with former world champion, 500cc world champion Jackie Martins, the Belgian great, on Monday night, 7 p.m. UK time. On Tuesday, I've got former world champion Aussie Chris Holder, 2012 world champion, I believe he was. Hope to get him on Tuesday night on 7 p.m. And then on Thursday, we can look forward to Sebastian Tortelli, two-time world champion, also class rider in the AMA, motocross and supercross. I've got a couple of shirts in the background there from Mr. Tom Brown from Motor Extreme. Massive thanks to him for that. I've got his Oxbow bottoms over here and another 5 or 6 shirts over there as well. Tom's really hooked me up so that when Zeb comes on, I can show him sort of 7 or 8 shirts. Really cool. And I believe that one there is the one he won the LA Coliseum first round. And then obviously there's one there as on when he was winning the 125 World Championship there as well. So he's written on it and signed on that one. There's a load of others over here that I'll show you as well on the night. Okay, I see that, Stuart. I'll catch up with my messages in a minute. I've just seen that for you. Thank you very much. Dean Warren will be happy to see it. Yeah. Nice one, Lee. Another great interview with the legend Wardy. Thank you very much. And last GP one piece race. That's why he did the white tyres in, was it? I also mentioned earlier on, thanks to Andy Hobbs, Swindon guy, top man from Man with a Van in Swindon. Very well known in Swindon. He is the famous Western Beach Race gorilla as well on the quad. Mr. Stuntman himself. Massive thanks to him today for helping me out with the bike. I've been in not had a good time with me old operation thing, and I've been in massive pains and everything and stuff. So I probably need to maybe go and check it as well. So really appreciate Andy Hobbs, what he did today. Really helped me out a lot massively to sort the bike out with me. Hence he's dropping hints slightly. But massive thanks to him. Really appreciate it. Top man. Really do. So I will be back definitely Monday with Jackie Martins, and possibly, fingers crossed, over the weekend sometime that I'll announce on social media if the kit gets sorted out. So there's only 16 tickets left. So if we get that sorted out over the next tomorrow or whatever, and maybe I can do it Sunday night possibly, or even Saturday night, depending on when they go. So then I can launch the bike, which is an absolute peach. Very cool to have. Very, as my mum might take the mick, Robbie, that is very, very cool. Trust me, that bike is. Yes, Andy. So I will leave it. All right, I'll give you a hint then. Yes, it is. Here you go. Look. Thank you, Andy. There he is, Mr. Andy Hobbs, the famous. He was as famous as the GP stars were at Western Beach Race. I've seen his picture on the front of the TMX. I'm pretty sure it was doing a wheelie on the quad as the gorilla. That's the man himself, look, Mr. Hobbs. Proper ledge. He's from Swindon as well, my hometown. Man with a van. He can hook you up. Top man. Really helped me today. Massively, massively appreciated. Leon Day, is it green, the bike, Lee? Yeah, all right, we'll let you have that. Andy give a little hint, but yeah, it is a green bike. So there we go. That's the only hint I can give at the minute, all right? And I didn't even actually think about it either, but as it works out, we did the Suzuki that someone won. Then we had Heron's Honda, and then we did the brand new Yamaha, and yet this is green. So it is a green bike. So hopefully I'll be able to announce that over the weekend if we get rid of these tickets for the Hurlings kit. So fingers crossed on that. So the plates are trying to get more hints. I can't give any more hints. To be fair, if I said the plate, you probably wouldn't get it. It's something else, but then it might give a hint. So I don't want to get into all that. I can't say any more. I'm too easy, aren't I? How easy am I? I'm like, you're just asking things. I'm like, all right, then yeah, it is green. Before I know it, I'll be telling you all. Speak to me after. Anyone is that you mentioning? Oh, you're all guessing like how in that little comments thing. I can't give any more away. So I just need to get once I got rid of this Jeffrey Hurlings kit, there's only 16 tickets left for the Jeffrey Hurlings kit, and then I'll reveal the bike. And trust me, it is mint. If only I could have it. I'd have more than a few goes. I want it. It was my dream bike as a youngster in the schoolboys in the BSMA. So there we go. It's important to be nice. So on that thing, Andy, I will say my dad's quote that I always love to say at the end of the thing. I really appreciate everyone coming on this evening. Thanks for your questions. Much appreciated. Definitely back Monday night, Jackie Martins, but fingers crossed. We'll sort out the rest of the tickets for the bike. 16 left. And sort the tickets out for Jeffrey Earnings Kit, and then we get the bike launched as well. But I will leave you on my dad's quote, which, bless him, I love to use. It's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. So speak to you all soon, people. Ciao Bella, as we say, Claudio. Ciao Bella. And before we go, if you're on George, we go, aye. There you go. That's from Andy as well. Ciao Bella.